Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows. I'm your host, Dylan Lang. I've been doing this show now for 13 years, and this is episode 665, pilot season. Now, let me explain where this came from. I've been doing this show now for almost 13 years, and I took a little breather in summer 2020 because of COVID and other stuff as well. So I should be higher up on my episode list, but I've actually done this many episodes, 665 right now. About a month or so ago, I was looking at my schedule and I thought, okay, 666 is going to land on my birthday, which is this upcoming Saturday, June 20th. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, Sign of the Beast. I thought it was kind of funny. Then I did some research a couple days later, realized, nope, your numbers were off and you were going to be 665 if you didn't throw in a bonus episode. So what would you do for a bonus episode so you can get your 666? Well, this is what you get. To reiterate real quick, this show started almost 13 years ago, 2013. It was a Sunday 1 o'clock show. So technically it's Sunday, June 14th at a little bit after 1 o'clock. So I had this. Decided I would do it for this thing. It is Flag Day. It is President Obama Appreciation Day as well. And there's no other thing going on this day either. Anyway, so here I am in Reisterstown, Maryland. So I've been doing this for 13 years. And this is the most popular show spun off from the Snark Alec Radio, which started way back in like 2011. 13 years, man, it's got to be the most popular, right? So I figured this show should have a bunch of spinoffs. Now I have a couple spinoffs. I did my list show and I've done my interviews with myself, but I've been thinking of some other ones as well. And some I've mentioned before on my show and others I just came up with recently. So what we have right now is this is episode 665 called Pilot Season. I am going to give you a list of 20 pilots, possible spinoffs of the show, little snippets of what the show would be about. If to see if you guys would like to see more of that show. Please vote in the comments. I know I don't have any viewers right now, and I doubt I'll have any today. But you know what? I'm going to say it anyway. That's the only problem. I'm hugely popular, but I don't have a lot of viewers, so that goes figures. Since I'll be talking a lot, I got my big drink here, so. I keep my throat wet. Whew. Might be something else in there. Woo yeah. Ooh yeah. Anyway, they're in no particular order. They're just ones I was writing down to try to get them into some sequence a little bit. So sit back, relax. Should be about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at the most. And then at the end of the show, vote in the comments for your favorite. And we'll see. And who knows, maybe I'll just spread these through anytime I want to also. And if this is popular enough, maybe next year I'll do another one if I can come up with some new ideas. So without further ado, let's get this shit started. It's my birthday week, so I figured why not? Episode 665, pilot season for Dylan Knows. This first pilot is one I've actually had an idea on for the longest time. And I've been meaning to do it, and I just didn't get around to doing it. Haven't figured out actually how I would do it, because I could probably do multiple versions of this in one episode. But let me just give you a take on it. This pilot is called In Defense Of. And the basic premise behind this is there are people that attack certain things on the internet because the internet is a joke. To be honest, let's face facts. People hide behind AI-generated pictures and spout off the most absolutely worst degenerate sort of stuff you could think about. And that way they don't have any consequences. These people are the same people that if they said it to your face, you would beat the shit out of them and they would cry like a little bitch. So these are people who just go online and complain about everything because they're just a bunch of crybaby Republican. I'm sorry, I should have said that. Snowflakes, just crybabies in general, bitch ass sons of bitches. So here's just a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 potential in defense of stories I could do with a little bit of what I would be defensing in them. So the first one, this is the one that was whenever I came up with this idea, this is the first one that always hit my head. Y'all remember the movie 13 Going on 30, Jennifer Garner, Mark Ruffalo, Judy Greer. It's a great, fun, bubbly, romantic comedy, sweet fun. The premise is body switching, but with a little bit of a change. 13-year-old girl gets humiliated at her birthday party, wishes she could be 30 years old. And flash forward, she is able to see her future, what she looks like at the age of 30. And she's a very quiet, nice, sweet girl at 13. And because of all the shit she went through at her birthday at 13, in her 30-year-old body, she discovers that she's a total bitch, and she doesn't like that. So she's going to go about try to change her future in this role. Judy Greer plays her co-worker and her best friend when she's in her 30s. And we learn later on in the show, in the movie, that Judy Greer was actually the head of the Mean Girl group that was making fun of Jennifer Garner's character at the age of 13, and who set up this whole situation with her making fun of her and saying we'll be at your 13th birthday party, and then ditching on her and stuff like that. She was a mean girl. So in the original timeline, Jennifer Garner's character, after she came out, she went out and she went full mean girl and ousted Judy Greer's younger self and became the head of the Mean Girls. And that's how she was in this position. So because of that, Judy Greer wanted to have some reflected glory. So she hung out, became friends with her. And so now they're best friends, and it's great to see the two of them playing off each other is fantastic. It looks like that she is a really good friend to her. But there's a situation, but when Jennifer Garner's old character or past character starts revealing itself and she makes a lot of changes, Judy Greer starts noticing some things and she's not sure she likes them. Understandable, it's fine. But somewhere in the movie, she steals a bunch of photographs that Jennifer Garner was going to use for a presentation and use it for her own presentation. And everyone thought that was, that's such an awful, terrible thing to do. In defense of Judy Greer's character is not the bad guy in this situation. You have to remember that the Jennifer Garner we see at age 30 in the movie is the 13-year-old inside of her body, and she's trying to make changes. But to Judy Greer's eyes, this is the same bitch who has been fucking with her for most of her life, and she's seen her cheat on her boyfriends, be a total bitch to other people, steal other people's stuff, be just a total absolute bitch. And she wants to sort of, make a statement. So she wants to sort of get a slight bit of revenge on her from all the shit and give her a taste of her own medicine to show her that, she's not all that. And it hurts when you do stuff like that. I will go to my grave with that, saying that Judy Greer was not the bad guy. So that would be a taste of what I would do. In an episode that I would do with that, I would go in more depth into what the situation was, why that all happened, and stuff like that. So, there's that. In defense of Jenny not being the bad guy in Forrest Gump, you see a trend here. I've seen this a lot too, when they say the worst bad guys in movie history, and Jenny always pops up there. Jenny's character was sexually abused as a child and shuttled between parents, but mostly sexually abused. And she befriends Forrest Gump, who is the most sweet, kind, gentlest thing. And the movie is trying to do a dichotomy of Forrest Gump being the ideal, perfect person and the dark side of America. So he's like the best side of America, and Jenny's the dark side of America. She gets involved in drugs, but she's also someone who's anti-war, which is not bad at the time, particularly the Vietnam War. But her lifestyle is continuing. She's a drug addict. She is dating an abusive asshole that Forrest doesn't like, and Forrest loves her, wants to be her boyfriend. But Jenny knows in the back of her head, and this is why Jenny's not the bad guy, that she could corrupt this perfect being. That's why she tries to keep her space away, because she does not want Forrest to go through the shit that she goes through. He's already going through enough stuff with him being mentally deficient. And so she's trying to keep him at arm's length because she doesn't want him to get sucked into the dark world that she's a part of. So she's basically him from the dark side of the Force. No, just the dark side. And then you say, well, when she does show up, She's trying to get clean. She's trying to escape her lifestyle. She's trying to restart her life. And the only person she thinks of she can go to is Forrest. And she's not using him. It is a safety blanket for her. Someone that she knows will take care of her and will not get on her butt and will not take her advantage of her and will not get her hooked on drugs. He will just love her, give her flowers, feed her, dance with her, talk with her, just sit with her, and she just wants to be quiet and just chit chat. And you see that in the film. And then the whole July 4th thing where Forrest proposes to her in 76. I think they're trying to connect historical stuff to everything. So it's the bicentennial. And he proposes to her and she turns him down, and that messes up his head. And Jenny, again, sees that she's pushing him away, and she wants him to realize how much she appreciates him and loves him also, but just marriage, just because she still feels she's not qualified, not worthy of his pure love. She still has a self problem that she needs to solve herself before she can actually become the person that should be Forrest Gump's wife. But to prove that she still does love him, she takes his virginity and has sex with him, and then leaves the next day, because it's not because she's embarrassed or it was terrible or whatever. She's just like, I just need to work on myself. I need to get out of here. This was, I just want to prove to him that I love him. And that's where people grasp on that. And then she goes and she gets her life cleaned up. The fact that she gets pregnant, spoiler alert, with Forrest's child is secondary. She wasn't going in there to try to get pregnant. She was going in there to just show how much that, she understands how much he loves her. And then when she calls him to come see her 6, 7, 8 years later, after he runs across the country a bunch of times and finds out he has a child, she's now feels fully comfortable in her skin. She's cleaned out all the shit in her system, and she now feels, with the fact that they have a child together, that she is worthy of being Mrs. Forrest Gump. So that's when she proposes to him, and they move back to Alabama and they start a family. Unfortunately, because she is the epitome of the dark side, she's suffering from a disease that's going to kill her. Now, everybody thinks it's AIDS. I still technically think it's AIDS, but the actual sequel to the novel called it hepatitis. I don't know. I still think it's AIDS. It would make perfect sense. Early 80s sort of stuff. And the fact that she was using drugs and dirty needles, stuff like that, would just make sense. So Jenny is definitely not the bad guy in this movie. Katie Holmes has been someone that a lot of people don't appreciate. She starred on Dawson's Creek, and then she did a couple movies here and there, but her biggest claim to fame is that Tom Cruise married her and had kids with her, and then tried to suck her into the Scientology life, and she was able to escape, and they divorced, and she now has custody of their kids. And she still wants to go out and do some acting, and she still is now becoming a director and doing some stuff now. And Christopher Nolan, who everybody out there loves, he cast her in Batman Begins, which is a wonderful origin story for Batman, probably the best origin story for Batman. Sorry, Michael Keaton Batman. You're still the best Batman movie, but Batman Begins is actually a really decent Batman film. And she plays a character that is not in the comics. Rachel, I forget the last name. She's a lawyer who grew up with him and was Bruce's, love interest. And then when he comes back from his voyages to make himself become Batman, she's now a lawyer who's fucking around with the mob. And I did not think she was terrible in the job. I thought she actually was a I wouldn't say brilliant, but she was very good at her job. And I don't see the hate for her. I thought she did really, really good. Her character, the problem is, if you really want to think about it, the character is probably underwritten. It's not written properly. And that would be with any actress, as you will see in the next film. She's the white queen that he is striving to get so they can put this Batman shit behind him and become, someone, fairly normal and stuff like that. But she is not taking that stuff. I thought she did a great job. I think the script just did not do a good job of fleshing out her character. She does a lot more in this one than in the sequel. And Katie Holmes absolutely does a fantastic job. They recast her in Dark Knight with Maggie Gyllenhaal, who I absolutely do not like in the role. I thought she was terrible in the role, and her character was way more underwritten than it was in the first one. I thought Katie Holmes would have done a whole lot better job in Dark Knight, but because all the haters and all that stuff pretty much kind of forced Nolan to sort of force her out, which is a shame. But Katie Holmes is not terrible in Batman Begins. Arby's. Why the hate on Arby's? I've talked about this before. Arby's is probably my favorite fast food joint. And it's not, they have hamburgers now, but it's not hamburgers. And their fries are not shitty. They have decent fries. They have a choice of curly fries and crinkle cut now. They have milkshakes. Then their milkshakes machines always work, and they change up the flavors all the time. They're seasonal, so they change the food all the time. And it's not your typical hamburger stuff. Yes, you have hamburger stuff like that, but they have roast beef, they've got chicken, they've got wraps, they've got salads, they've got kids menu. The chicken cordon bleu sandwich is one of the absolute best fast food sandwiches out there. Their French dip is amazing as well. During the holidays, the Thanksgiving to Christmas window, they have the fried turkey club, which is amazing. It's one of the best things out there. They have great milkshakes. Their curly fries are heavenly, and it's good, decent food, and I don't understand why people hate on it. Even Ryan Reynolds and his Deadpool persona was razzing on it. I love our Arby's, and I'll be completely clear about it. I go to my Arby's almost every weekend. I'm not going this week. It's the first weekend I haven't gone at least one day during the week or during the weekend in about 3 weeks, because they know me up there. I'm a regular up there. The guys who work up there and are so cool. They're really neat, and they know me, and we get along really well. And supposedly they're going to be moving closer to Reisterstown next year. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition. I don't know if it is or not, but they did say they are going to be closing that area and moving to Reisterstown. That's what the one guy said. So we'll see if that happens, but it won't be till next year. So we'll see if that actually happens. So I'm still going to be going up there. I'm still going to be getting it, and it's still great food. I still enjoy it. I still love it. Their French fries are amazing. The food itself is good, and it's different than your typical hamburgers and stuff like that. The chicken sandwiches are different than the Chick-fil-A sandwiches. As I said, chicken cordon bleu is great. The ham and cheese is good. They have sliders. They got all kinds of stuff as well. So we got some really good stuff. So I don't understand the hatred for Arby's. I think if you actually went to it and tried some of the food, I think you might actually like it. And they do have hamburgers. I'm not a big fan of the hamburgers, but I like their regular stuff. But it's decent. Everyone talks about M. Night Shyamalan having twist endings in his movies. Signs does not have a twist ending, despite what everybody says. Everyone thinks that, the twist ending is that his dead wife, months ahead of the alien invasion, predicted that an alien invasion was going to happen and told him the way to defeat the aliens. No, as he says in the movie, it was just the last electrons of her mind sparking out before she died. And it was the last thing she remembered, going to one of Merrill's baseball games and telling him to swing away, because that's what they do at baseball games. You want to swing away, hit home runs, stuff like that. It wasn't him her telling him from the past to the future, hey, when the aliens come, use the bat and beat the shit out of them. No, that's not the case. In this case, it shows how everything is connected. That's why it's called fucking signs. There's signs everywhere, and everything is connecting it. And there's even a fucking speech, which is fantastic, between Joaquin Phoenix and Mel Gibson about the meaning of signs. It's fantastic. Not the movie, the signs, what you see and stuff like that that predict things. It's a fantastic sequence. It's a fantastic fucking movie. Also, despite the hate that I've been seeing for it a lot of the time, because it's the type of story idea that I wish I would have invented. And I love the idea of, think of it as this way. Independence Day came out right around the same time, actually came out a few years after it, or Signs came out a few years after Independence Day. So you got to think about it this way. Think about Independence Day, okay? And you're focusing in that movie on the people who are going to stop the alien invasion. But there's whole countries, the whole world is under attack by these aliens, and you're only focusing on this small group of people who are there to stop them. What about the people who are just the regular Joes like you and I, as how they're trying to survive in an alien invasion? And that's what Signs is. They're not the ones who save the day. Mel Gibson, Joaquin Phoenix, and his family are not the ones to save the day. They're the ones that are surviving in their house. Yes, they beat one of the aliens, but they were not the big heroes. They were just trying to save themselves. I will be talking about the other storyline about Signs in a later pilot episode. In defense of Phil Collins beating Trey Stone and Matt Parker at the Oscars. Now, think back when South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut came out. It was a musical. It's a great movie. It's a great fucking movie. It's hilarious. It's a great musical numbers. It led them to create the Book of Mormon, which is a fucking fantastic Broadway show. And so Blame Canada was nominated for an Oscar award. And the same year, Disney released Tarzan, which is another great fucking movie with a great musical score from Phil Collins. And Phil Collins's ballad from Tarzan beat Blame Canada in the Academy Awards. And Trey and Matt decided it would be the cool thing to attack Phil Collins. Phil Collins didn't vote. Well, he probably voted for his song, but he has one vote in millions of votes. Millions more people felt that Tarzan's song was better than Blame Canada. And they went off on a tirade against Phil Collins. They made a couple episodes after the Oscar loss that absolutely admonished him. And look, I understand that's the way they roll, but there's no reason for it. I've talked about this before, so I'm only going to touch on this briefly. This would be a full episode on itself, and I'm running out of time. I want to try to get this quick and snappy. Stranger Things Season 5. Why all the hate? It's probably one of the best seasons. Maybe not the best season, but it's one of the best seasons of the show. It perfectly wrapped up everything you need to know. This whole, there's a secret episode of Stranger Things because it didn't end how you wanted is absolutely fucking ridiculous. All you people who feel that it should be your ending and not the writer's ending. And also, why the hate for happy endings? You're like, yeah, they need to all died for it to be more of a great ending. Why the fuck did a bunch of kids need to die? There is no fucking reason for that. The ending was absolutely pitch perfect. It opens up the possibility that 7 might be still alive, or 7 or 9. 7, no. Millie Bobby Brown's character. It's been a while since I've seen it. And you'll notice that also, if it's the first time you watch the show, I have these sort of moments where I've got so much shit in my head that stuff escapes from me. 11, that's what it is. It opens it up as, did 11 survive or did she die? It's up to your interpretation how you want to do it. It was a pitch perfect ending for the show. It ended exactly as it should. And, they defeated the bad guy too easily. Fuck off, all right? Fuck off already. I don't understand the hatred for it, but I'm not going to go into much detail because I got a lot more to cover. And I already talked about this when it first came out. There's an episode back from January where I absolutely admonished the people who talked about how much they hated this, but I would do it again in an episode of In Defense Of. And I still, to this day, some people say that is one of the worst seasons of TV, and I think you can just go fuck off with that. And finally, I think I can understand where this is coming from, because the same thing happened with It's a Wonderful Life. But why the hate for a Christmas Story? A Christmas Story, to me, is a tradition for me personally, not necessarily my family, but this is what I do on Christmas Eve. This is what I do, and my family does. I usually go to work, usually for about a half a day, and then I come home. And then we get ready to go to Mass with my in-laws because they are visiting all their kids. They have 3 kids. So my in-laws, they come to our area, go to Mass with their daughter, my wife, and their grandchildren and me. And then we go out to dinner at a nice restaurant. And then they leave to go to the youngest child, Catherine, who lives in Ellicott City. I shouldn't say their names. The youngest, ignore that, in Ellicott City. They spend Christmas Eve night with them. They spend the night there, and they're there in the morning to when the kids wake up, when their other grandkids wake up to open their presents. Then they drive down to Virginia to see their other daughter, and be there for Christmas Day dinner at their house. And then they come back Christmas night to their house and have their Christmas celebration at their house. They've been doing it for years. So, and it's just the way they do it. And they like it. They get to see all their whole family. They're the ones that gladly travel. They get to spend the night. They get to experience Christmas and all aspects of it. And I love that. What I do is after they leave, it just sort of linger around, look at my phone, stuff like that. Then the kids take their showers, and then I read them How the Grinch Stole Christmas and The Night Before Christmas. And even now, when they're 20 and 17, I still do it. And they will go to bed, and then we go downstairs, and my wife goes into our living room, wraps my presents. I wrap her presents in the family room because we've already wrapped the kids' presents. And I watch A Christmas Story while I wrap my wife's presents. I've always done it. I've done it for years. I've done it since the 1900s or in the 1990s. There might have been periods in there where I might have skipped it, like in my college years, but I still tried to watch Christmas Story every Christmas Eve. I love the movie. I think it's great. Even today, I can keep watching it over and over again. And then I understand where the hatred for it comes, because TNT has done what they did with It's a Wonderful Life years ago. TNT does a 24-hour Christmas Story. There's actually people that do like that and the people that don't. So TNT just airs Christmas Story 24/7 from like a certain time on Christmas Eve to Christmas night. Every 2 hours is a brand new, they repeat the movie again. And I can understand then the people hating on that. And yes, it's a 1930s era set movie. And it's like, but there's not a lot of Christmas in it. Yeah, the whole point about it is Christmas. Yes, there's other storylines that are converging on it, but so is Christmas Vacation, if you think about it. But you all love that movie. And I like that movie too. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying, why all the hate for A Christmas Story? I might actually do that one either as a actual version of In Defense Of, or do it as a spinoff for maybe Conversations with Myself close to Christmas time, where we'll talk more in depth about that. So I finally finished that one. It took me almost half an hour, but actually technically 20 minutes, but okay. My next pilot is going to be a quick boom, 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 boom. This one's called Hot Takes. This is where I make hot takes on celebrities and other stuff. The ones I wrote down here are just on celebrities. And this would be one where my hot takes would be, I would say it, and then I would probably go into more detail about what I mean by it. I'm just going to say what my hot take is, and we'll move on from there. Sydney Sweeney is okay with playing the sex pot. All the roles that she's been playing lately, she always has to do some sort of nudity and sex. I'm fine with that. I don't like her MAGA attitude, but has her right to her opinion, and that's fine with it. And she is a sexy bitch, to be fair. Let's be honest, she is. But she enjoys playing the sex pot. But she's also done roles where she is not using her sexuality, and she's actually could potentially be a decent actress, but everybody just sees her for all her sex pot roles, and she's sort of delving into that. But she has the ability to play something other than a sex pot, but she likes leaning into that because it makes her popular, keeps her up on the screen and stuff like that. Matt Damon tells awesome stories. Everybody has hate for Matt Damon also, never quite understand that, but when you see him on talk shows and stuff like that, he has awesome stories about his career. He tells them really well. He's very good at it. Tom Cruise is weird as hell, but he's also very talented, and he's pretty much proven how talented he is. And he also has the ability to pick and choose what roles he wants to do, ones that are money-making things that he likes to do, and also ones that will challenge him as an actor. Yes, he's a crazy son of a bitch, but he is very talented, and I've been saying this since the last Oscars. Tom Cruise is going to win Oscar for Best Actor in next year's Oscars. He's doing a movie with a director, Inarita, who his last two movies, Leonardo DiCaprio won an Oscar, Michael Keaton won an Oscar. He's only done two movies, I think, and both times the main lead actor has won the Best Actor award. He's working with Tom Cruise in this new film coming out in October called Digger. I am predicting it right now, and I'll have mea culpa. I do an Oscar show when right around the time of the Oscars. I will do a mea culpa if I'm wrong, and maybe I'll change my mind if we see what awards are actually being handed out when we start into award season in October. I'm predicting right now Tom Cruise will win his first Best Actor in 2027 for Digger, which comes out in October. Ethan Hawke is an actor who deserves to win an Oscar. Hasn't yet, but he's also one of the most genuine people in the world. He's also the anti-movie star, where he does big budget sort of films, has worked with a lot of good people, but does a lot of small indie stuff as well. And he has been nominated a few times for Oscars, just never won. But I personally, Ethan is one of my favorite actors, one of my man crushes, if you were. I like him a lot, and I could talk about Ethan Hawke all day, but we're not going to. But he is one of the absolutely genuine people. Just listen to his conversation about what he believes death is. And also when a woman asked him in an interview, what advice do you have for heartbroken people? And it absolutely floored you what he said. I've always remembered Mary Tyler Moore as she was older, because I never really saw any of her stuff from the 60s and 70s. I only knew her really from stuff in the 80s and 90s when she was older and stuff like that. And I really wasn't a big fan of her anyway. But I've been seeing reels and stuff like that from her past show. Mary Tyler Moore was a stone cold fox. She was hot. The one reel that's been going around a lot lately is the pool shoot that she did with Dick Van Dyke, who's also a very handsome man. And the two of them have amazing chemistry together. And maybe I need to watch that show now, because they look like an absolutely cute couple. But she's so hot. I never expected that from Mary Tyler Moore. This one also blew my mind about this. Karen Carpenter is probably the most gifted musician we have ever seen. And you're all thinking, the Carpenter from the Carpenters, stuff like that. Yeah, no. She has excelled in two musical areas. If you ask any drummer, present day drummer, your hard rock bands, your Nirvanas, your stuff like that, and you ask them who their best drummers in the world were, or the most influential ones, or you give me your top 5 and your top 10, every drummer, all the big popular ones, all the ones everybody knows, they will say Karen Carpenter was a beast on the drums. And if you look at some of her old drum stuff, there's not a lot of it out there, but if you actually look at it, she is fucking phenomenal at the drums. But it was the 60s, and like, women can't play the drums. You need to sing because you're a singer. So she was like, okay. And she created this absolutely iconic voice that is Karen Carpenter when she sings it. And her voice, according to musicologists, people who study music, is one of the most unique. She can hit some of the most unique notes in music. And she's one of the only singers who can actually do this professionally and very well. Her story ended horribly with her dying of where she throws up all the time, and it's a mental disease. I forget what it's called. And then they made that terrible movie of her with her as a Barbie doll, which is absolutely terrible, from the director of Joker. It was an absolutely disgusting thing. It's time for a Karen Carpenter biopic, and I would love to do the research, to write the art, and direct it. She has wonderful Christmas songs. Probably some of the best Christmas music you've ever heard are the Carpenters. She's got good regular albums also, and she's a hell of a beast on the drums. Look it up. I'm not lying. Along the lines of Matt Damon, Kevin Pollak is also a great host to have on your show. He tells great stories also, and he also does amazing impersonations. So when he's talking about his interactions with a Jack Nicholson or Walter Matthau or something like that, he does a pitch perfect imitation of them. And Anya Taylor-Joy looks like a fantasy fairy, like a Tinkerbell or whatever, who escaped from the fairy realm and became a large-sized human. She just looks ethereal, and it's insane. So there's my hot takes. Now, I would also do other hot takes on current events and stuff like that. And I would go into more detail about it as well. Pilot, Holiday Dill. That is the beginning of my email address. I'm a huge holiday guy. It's February 4th. It's June 14th. It's Flag Day. This is not technically flag stuff. This is more 4th of July stuff. But, hey, it's still something. I have been a fan of holidays forever, for my whole life. One of my business ideas that I've always wanted to do is I wanted to open a holiday store, call it Every Day's a Holiday, and just turn it into just like how you have stuff for every holiday, decorations, decors, videos, music, costumes, whatever you need for every holiday, flags, stuff like that, just whatever you need for every holiday, all in one place, all out at the same time. So, and then when the certain holidays are closer, like when it's St. Patrick's Day or Valentine's Day or whatever, you move that stuff to the front of the shop and you order more of it and you keep it out until the holiday. That's the thing that drives me crazy about a lot of these like Walmarts and Targets and stuff like that, where they bring the stuff out months before. Like right now, school just ended. You're seeing probably July 4th stuff out there now. Once July 4th ends, you're going to start seeing back to school stuff. School doesn't start for another 2 months almost after that. And then once you hit the end of August, you get Halloween stuff out there. But then when you get closer to the actual holiday, stuff is gone because people are grabbing it early and they don't reorder this shit for those who are waiting to actually buy it closer to the holiday. That doesn't make you inefficient or whatever. It just makes you, hey, I just thought maybe I need to decorate a little bit better. Let me go get some lights. Oh, wait, they don't have any, but you just had some a few weeks ago because you came out so early. But yeah, so I've always been a holiday fan, so I could do a show about talking about holidays in depth, not just the big ones, but as I said, every day is a holiday. There's a website called Check I Day, which has a list of what is officially named and recognized as holidays during specific days of the year. And they have the big ones. We also have the pop culture ones like Star Trek Day, Shakespeare Day, Rex Manning Day, stuff like that. So what really got me to thinking about maybe doing a show about this was my daughter got confirmed this year. You do confirmation on Easter Saturday, the day before Easter, the day after Good Friday, day before Easter. Easter is one of those holidays that it's not one of the big ones, but it's close enough. You get Easter eggs, you got chocolate bunnies. There are Easter movies out there, and it is a Catholic holiday for the most part. She was posting pictures because she was doing that, and she was playing a song from Instagram called Holy Week, which I'd never heard before, but it encapsulated the emotions of a Holy Week, and I thought that's awesome. So I think we could just sit down there and just discuss all the different holidays. As I said, Easter is not my cat Pepper. He always has to make an appearance on the show. And I would just talk about more in depth. I'm not going to do that because there's so many holidays out there. The biggest one upcoming now is obviously July 4th. And what we would do at July 4th, what I'd talk about would be, people decorating their houses. I have red, white, and blue lights somewhere in my holiday closet over there. I can put them out on my light. My house, excuse me. And then there's parades, there's put the flag out, stuff like that. I always go to my uncle's house on 4th of July. We play badminton, we have a cookout, we watch baseball or soccer or whatever. And it's just family get together. And then there's fireworks that are shot all around us. And that's 4th of July. And it's really, to me, the build up to the holiday is the exciting part. So I would talk about the vibes, the pop culture, the media, in depth about how the holiday was created. And of course, I got a big holiday coming up myself. Your birthday is your own personal holiday. My birthday is on Saturday, June 20th, upcoming. And I'm fascinated by people who do not like celebrating their birthday. I can understand maybe why they do, and I'll respect them, but it's your holiday. It's something that I look forward to every year. It's because it's about me. That doesn't make me egotistical. It's just I like being, the center of attention every once in a while. I like getting presents. And I got Father's Day coming up also, which you can't do unless you're a father, obviously, or taking on a fatherly role, I should say. So it's your own personal holiday. Now, I can understand why people don't want it because they don't like getting older. They don't like being in the spotlight, which is fine. I tell everybody it's my birthday. Whenever they say, "Hey, how you doing?" "Hey, it's my birthday." I'm fine. I've already told the people at work that my birthday week starts on Monday. Technically, it does start today, and that I will be requiring them to give me a present every day of the week until my birthday. So, because I won't be there for my birthday since it's on a Saturday this year. I would talk about more in depth about how Thanksgiving, it being an American holiday, is underrated and is probably one of the better holidays because the only thing you have to worry about is family, football, and food. That's it. And then you have Black Friday. Usually a lot of people have that 4-day weekend. I have a 4-day weekend that weekend, which is phenomenal. And you have Black Friday where you go out shopping if you want to, or you don't have to. And then you have the weekend itself. And that is the beginning of the Christmas season for me. Christmas is always a big one. Also, Christmas Eve to me is better than Christmas Day. I already told you earlier in the show what I do on Christmas Eve. Again, it's a vibe, it's a feeling, whatever. Halloween used to be my favorite. It's been sliding a little bit. I'm a little bit personal here. I lost my virginity on Halloween. I will be the first person to admit that. And that's one of the reasons why I liked it. But I also like the build up to it, the whole month. October is my favorite month of the year. The colors, the horror stuff, the music, the decorations, costumes, candy. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. New Year's Eve and New Year's Day to me are fairly overrated. They're okay. They're just celebrating a new year. We usually go to family's house on New Year's Eve, and sometimes we have our Christmas on New Year's Day with a family that we haven't seen yet. St. Patrick's Day, again, I'm not Irish, but it's a fun holiday, wearing green, here listening to Irish music. My stepdad, who passed away years ago, he was in an Irish band, and St. Patrick's Day week was his biggest week where his Irish band would be hired to do a bunch of events and stuff like that, culminating in a St. Patrick's Day concert somewhere. We did one at Haverty Grace, which was phenomenal one year. It was amazing. And then again, as I said, I would talk about some of the minor ones as well. 420 Flag Day, which is today, Alien Day, Rex Manning Day, stuff like that. So that would be one I could do more in depth about. This one I've already done kind of on my Interviews with Myself show. But I realize as I get older, I have that old man cliche where I complain about everything. So this episode will be called Old Man Yells at Clouds. This is going to be a long one because I have a lot of issues. First up, the Upside app, which is something I hear on the radio all the time. I absolutely hate the Upside app commercials. They do the same commercials all the time as people who are going to a concert, and then one says, "Hey, we're going to be late," and it's like, "No, I got to get gas. I've got to go to a place in the other town because gas is so expensive." And they're like, we're going to miss the concert because of gas prices. Get the Upside app, which will help you reduce your gas total. And they do the same commercial over and over again. Now, the original one they did was, obviously you can hear, and this sounds racist, but it's true. Black women have certain inflections and ways that they talk as opposed to white women. This sounded like a black woman was telling the white woman about the Upside app. So they did another version of that same exact commercial, but turned it into a white woman talking about it to a white man. But the problem with that one was it was AI generated, or the voice actors who did it were just so wooden. They're like, "I got to go get gas. We're going to miss the concert, though. You should get the Upside app." "What's Upside app?" "This is what the Upside app is." It was so robotic, so generic, and they DEI'd it by replacing it with a bunch of white people on it. Now they're starting to put the Upside app is now going to Giant. And so the one guy has a white guy and a black guy talking. And then he says, "We're going to miss the white guy's like, we're going to miss the game." And the black guy's like, "We're going to go. I need to stop by a Giant to get some snacks. You're going to be taking snacks to a stadium. Do they even allow that? I know some do, but why would you do that? And there's like, oh, you're going to get the Upside app. He's like, what the hell's the Upside app? Oh, and then the guy was talking about it says, and we're going to get some money back on it. No, bitch. He's going to get money on it because he's buying it, not your dumbass. It's just, and the thing about the gas prices, they were talking shit about gas prices when they weren't even that high. So Upside app is one of my pet peeves that I listen to all the time. Ozempic, my God. Ozempic. And they're like, hey, you know the jingle. The whole thing about them is you know the jingle. Your jingle you stole from a 1970s song, you dumb fuck. You changed it up. Yes, everybody knows the jingle, but you did not take control of that. It's a fucking song from the 70s that you stole from them and used it for your thing. And that's whenever the commercial comes on, says, you know the jingle. And that's it. I mean, they talk about what it does briefly, but it's like, you know the jingle. So everybody knows Ozempic. Some people don't, but it's not your jingle. You stole it. Speaking of jingles, NJM Insurance, I talked about them before either. Their thing, the NJM is no jingles or mascots. That's why they call themselves NJM Insurance. And their commercials drive me crazy because they're like, oh, we don't do jingles. We don't do mascots. We just do good insurance. So because an insurance company is using jingles or mascots to draw attention to themselves in a commercial basis where you're trying to get something interesting to get people's attention, because insurance is boring as fuck. And they're using jingles and mascots to get their attention to come into doing their insurance. You think that's bad? Do you think the mascots are the ones who are doing the insurance? How do you not know that maybe their insurance is better than your dumb insurance? And they just happen to be using a jingle and a mascot to get more attention drawn to themselves. And here's the thing also, you say we don't use jingles or mascots, but your whole premise of your whole fucking commercials is that we don't use mascots and jingles. That is your jingle / mascot. We don't do that. We're just good insurance. Bullshit. Kiss my ass. When did soft rock turn into yacht rock? Who the fuck has yachts besides rich people? And why are they the only ones allowed to enjoy soft rock music? And why are they calling it yacht rock? I know why they're calling it yacht rock, because you're on your yacht. Everybody thinks, you're on your yacht. You're in the middle of the water. You're rich. You got a sexy woman in her bikini. You're getting suntan oil all over. You're drinking your Molsons, and you're eating some barbecue and all this stuff. And you're just having a great time, and everything's great. And I'm listening to music, and I'm a white dude, and I can't dance. I got no rhythm, and the soft rock is the best stuff. So we're gonna call it fucking yacht rock. It's not fucking yacht rock. It's soft rock, and soft rock is good. Sailing's one of my favorite songs I love for Christopher Cross. I love soft rock music. It's not my favorite genre, but I like soft rock music. It's soft rock music. It's not fucking yacht rock. I don't own a fucking yacht. Probably 90% of the population does not own a fucking yacht. So why the fuck do you get to take our soft rock and make it your yacht rock? It makes me want to tear my ears off every time I hear somebody call it yacht rock. Another commercial on the radio. Someone is like, oh, you look terrible. What's wrong with you? I have constipation. Who the fuck talks to their coworkers or their friends about constipation? Oh, I tried super coffees and I tried avocados and all bullshit, but then I tried Miralax and it made me clean. Who the fuck cares? Who the fuck wants to know about your goddamn constipation? Now, it's concerning if it's been going on for a while. Like if my son hasn't gone to the bathroom for a while, we might be concerned about it. He might need to go to the hospital, or you haven't done it for a while. Maybe you need to figure out something. But why the fuck do I need to go up to a coworker and say, yeah, I'm constipated. What do you got for me? Fucking stupid. This isn't a commercial, believe it or not. Box office numbers and Rotten Tomatoes. I've gone off on these before too. Everyone is obsessed about box office numbers. If a movie doesn't do well or doesn't do as expected. Master Universe is a good example right now. It made like 90 some million dollars its first week worldwide. Oh, it's a huge flop because it has a $200 million, thing like that. Yes, it started off slow, but it doesn't mean they're not going to make their money back. And Amazon's smart enough to say, yeah, we kind of like it. We're okay with the numbers that they had there. They're not absolutely freaking out about numbers. Box office numbers. Oh, the Marvel Universe is going downhill because their box office numbers are not as high as they were before Endgame. Well, yeah, obviously there are other reasons for that as well. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But box office numbers does not, in the end, determine if a movie is good or bad. And then you see all these directors like a Scorsese or Coppola is like, yeah, these big budget superhero movies are ruining filmmaking for all the smaller people who are trying to get, original, tough, great stories out there. And they're not making any money because all these people are going to see these superhero movies. Maybe read the room for once, people. Superhero movies are popular. Sequels are popular. Remakes, unfortunately, are popular, but they make shit ton of money. And then your little stupid, shitty indie films that are usually the same, so particularly you, Scorsese, your movies are all the fucking same with all your crime and extra violence. We're not making a lot of money, blah, 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 box office shit, blue, 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 blee, blee, blee. Fuck you. And fuck everything you say about that. I know that's going to get me a lot of trouble with the movie geeks, so I don't give a fuck. I like some of Scorsese stuff. I like Scorsese as a person. I think he's a great film historian. But some of the shit he's saying is a bunch of bullshit. He's saying that AI should take over filmmaking. So are you going to stand for that movie, guys? I don't hear you complaining about that because it's Scorsese saying it. Oh, Netflix is going to ruin movie theaters if they get the rights to the WB. They've said, we'll put this stuff out for as long as we can. We'll shorten the window to 45 days. They'll still get a chance to make some money, and then we'll make some more money by showing it on Netflix. Meanwhile, the WB and Paramount that just got approved by the pedo in charge is going to take over the media and is not going to do all these great indie films you want to see, like A Sinners or something like that. They're not going to be made because they're racist piece of shit. So box office numbers really don't give a fuck. I don't care. It doesn't show how good a movie is. Same with Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes has got a whole bunch of fucking issues. On the surface, is a good idea. You consolidate a bunch of movie reviews into one website, and it does, makes it something so that the morons like, oh, okay, so 50%, 60% of the reviews are positive and 40% are negative. So it's still fresh. So it means it's a good movie. Or 30% of it is positive, 70% of it is negative. Oh, must be a shitty movie. No, that's one person's opinion. The fucking film critics, it's one person's opinion. They might not like that shit because that's who they are. Film critics are not the last word, and that was a problem we had in the 80s. Siskel and Ebert, Gene Shalit, God rest his soul, who just died this week. Who gives a fuck what they say? This is their opinion. This is their way to say, you would think about, okay, you might not want to see this movie because it has these issues you might want to see, but that's your opinion. Maybe you like some of the shit that they don't like, or maybe something they like you don't like. Go see the fucking movie yourself. If you want to see a movie, don't listen to what people are saying. Don't worry about the box office. Don't worry about what critics are saying. Fuck them. And then Rotten Tomatoes doesn't have the thing where they don't even have any guardrails. So the fucking Snyder bro fuckfaces, who I'll talk about in a little bit also, can come in and absolutely destroy a movie with all its fake criticism, a film they haven't even seen yet, but they just make up a bunch of shit. And then Rotten Tomatoes is like, oh, it's a review, so it's negative. So that forces a movie that's actually really, really good to have like a very bad review. And people are like, oh, look at the Rotten Tomatoes score. It's shitty. Why is this movie out there? They should have never made this fucking movie with a woman in the lead. Fuck you. All right. That's why I have issues with that. If you want to see a movie, go see the fucking movie. If you want to wait for it to go streaming, that's fine. But don't complain when it doesn't make a lot of money and you don't get a sequel. You watch it on streaming for the first time, not going to the movie theater to see it. Say, this is a great movie. I want to see the sequel. Well, guess what? So I make a fucking sequel because you didn't go to the movie theater for the box office, because the film distribution companies are the ones that focus on the box office. You should not. That's their job. They look at it and they're like, oh, it's going to, why should we make a sequel? It's going to lose money. You don't know that for sure. There are tons of proof that movies that tanked in the movie theaters, a good example is Austin Powers. The first one tanked in the movie theaters, but cable and video raised it to a appropriate height that it became hugely popular. They made a sequel because they're like, hey, look at the numbers here. They made a sequel. The sequel made a shit ton of money. and was a pop culture icon in the late 90s. And they made a third one, which didn't do as well, but it still made money. And Austin Powers is still an icon today. I think I might be him for Halloween this year. So don't worry about box office. Don't worry about Rotten Tomato scores. If there's a movie you want to see, go see it. A good example is horror movies are ruling the box office now. And a lot of them are getting shit on by these critics. But you like horror and they're making a shit ton of money because it's something you like. Tide Pods commercials. Back to commercials. There's a Tide Pods commercial where this, and this is another one of these DEI things where the first one I ever heard was a white cashier talking to a black woman, and you can again tell by inflection stuff like that about, why are you buying this laundry detergent? It's 90% water. If you buy Tide Pods, it's a lot more detergent. And the woman's like, oh, let me make an announcement. So at the middle of Costco, she grabs the woman's microphone, makes an announcement over the intercom. You should buy Tide Pods. Okay, it's a stupid ass commercial, but then they remake it with a white woman in the voice of the black woman, and it's the exact same fucking commercial. And again, why the fuck would you make an announcement about Tide Pods at like a Costco or a grocery store? Who gives a fuck? This is sports related, particularly football. The draft day is a huge day for football fans, and they come and see and they want to see what their favorite teams are going to draft and what other teams are going to draft. And you've got all these pundits that are like, oh, that's a bad pick, or that, why did you pick that guy? He's going to be terrible, or he's the best guy on the board. He's going to be phenomenal. How the fuck do you know? You're going by his college numbers. He's not, the player has not gone up against NFL players, has not had a different coach. Will have a different scheme, a different way of using things. And it might be more difficult for them. So these people who you tout as being, that's the best pick in the draft, might be a piece of shit. They might be terrible. They might be injury prone, whatever. And somebody say, oh, that's a terrible pick, might become a Hall of Famer. You don't fucking know. That's a problem with pundits. They need to find something to fill the time between all the sporting events. So you have these people come on and say, this team sucks because they picked this, blah, blah, blah. And they need a lot of work here. You don't know. You're like, oh, yeah, the Ravens aren't going to be a good team this year because they can't win the playoff. They got a new coach, all this stuff. The Bengals are going to rule the roost. Well, what if Joe Burrow gets hurt again? He's one of the most accident-prone, injury-prone players out there. What if he gets injured again? What if a couple of his wide receivers get injured? What if his line gets injured? Injuries are a big fucking deal, and they're going to fuck up your game. I've seen proof of that with the Ravens. When they've had injuries before, they've played horribly, particularly to key players. If you don't have the depth, you're not going to do it. But you don't know what's going to happen. You're just predicting, because of what they did last year, they're going to win this game. They're going to lose this game. They're winning it, lose. You don't know. You don't fucking know. And that's why you're a fucking pundit. What the fuck is up with these crazes? I guess I understand it, but protein craze? Why the fuck does everything now have to have extra protein? What the fuck do you need extra protein for? Who cares? Why do we need to have special Pop-Tarts that have protein? And that's all you see now is protein this and protein this and protein this and protein this. It's like a big fucking deal. Everything is being rebranded with this has more protein. Who gives a fuck? I don't give a fuck. Same thing with Mike's Hot Honey. What the fuck is that shit? That's all over everything. We're going to do Mike's Hot Honey Cheese. We're going to do Mike's Hot Honey Doritos. We're going to do Mike's Hot Honey Donuts, stuff like that. What the fuck? Who cares? And then there's the Dubai chocolate shit. This is a pistachio chocolate is all it is. And that's a big fucking deal. Why? Why are these big fucking deals? And why is everybody making a big fucking deal about these trendy little things? And that's what it is. It's because of a fucking trend. And I don't get it. Snyder Law Group, I've gone after them a bunch of times. They're a local law group, which is absolutely shitty, terrible, awful, stuff like that. And they have a phrase called Snyder them. And the most recent commercial he did, he's like, I'm trying to be a tough guy asshole. He's talking about you need to have a lawyer if you get hit by a truck or a motorcycle, if your car gets run off the road and falls into the ocean, or you get flattened by an airplane. They just talk about all this horrible shit that happens. Like, and no one cares about you. The doctors don't care about you. Insurance companies don't care about you. We're the only people who fucking care about you. So come get us. We'll sue their asses off. Now, there have been commercials. He did one commercial where he's talking about how, I'm better. I've been seeing all this talk about this other law group who've been coming and see how much better they are than everybody. And their reviews on Yahoo or whatever are through the roof. It's like, who gives a fuck about reviews? It's about what we can do for you. And I've gone through this before. I give a fuck about reviews because if they win consistently, I'm going to go with somebody who wins consistently. If you don't have any reviews where you haven't, people say, yeah, we won all these wars, but you seem to lose all the time. Why the fuck would I go to you? Because you lose all the time. But then here's the funny thing. In the next commercial, he says, you've read the reviews about us, so obviously we're good. Well, which is it? You can't have fucking both. You hate reviews or you like reviews. You can't have both. Fucking morons. Father's Day is coming up next Sunday, 1 week from today. Mother's Day was last May. And the thing that drives me crazy about that is that advertisements for all that shit, they're all saying, Dick's Sporting Good, or go to Home Depot for all your Father's Day needs. Go to CarMax for all your whatever. They have a cliche of what fathers are. They believe fathers only care about sports or fixing shit or cars or beer or shit like that. It's all cliche stuff like that. I don't give a shit about any of that. But they make the commercial seem like you will have to go to your Father's Day headquarters so you can get them ties and suits and shirts and pants. No, I don't want any of that shit. I want shit that I like. I want books. I want movies. I want candy. I want something fun. I don't want to have a toolkit. I don't want to have, whatever. And the same thing with women at Mother's Day. Oh, you need to get them jewelry or flowers or perfume. Maybe you don't. Maybe you need to get them books or wine or something like that. But these commercials, they come out and say, this is what you need to get for Mother's Day. And if you don't, you're a bad person. This is what you need to get for Father's Day. Go to this place and get all this shit. No. Maybe there are some that are like that, sure, but not everybody is. Critics who say when athletes or actors make a stand or statement about something that they think, I don't think this is a good take by one of our politicians or whatever. Or these politicians say, just go play baseball or go back to acting and let us worry about that shit. No. Athletes and actors are Americans. They have a say. They have votes. It doesn't matter that their job happens to make them hugely a ton of money and make them popular and huge stars. They have every right to disagree with your stupid ass things. And also they have every right to agree with your stupid ass things, i.e. Sydney Sweeney, as we talked about earlier, but it's their fucking right. Don't disparage them by saying, shut the fuck up and just go back to being a athlete or an actor. No, they are Americans. They have a right to have their voice heard. It doesn't matter if they're rich and powerful and famous. They still are people and they're still Americans, and they still have a right to say, you're a dumbass. Pluto being demoted. What the fuck was that about? Yeah, I understand it was a mini planet. It's the smallest planet. It's smaller. Mercury is barely above the size of Pluto, but it is bigger. It fits in their planetary window. Why demote Pluto? Because it's so far away? Because it's smaller? Sure, but you know what? It has 4 fucking moons. We only knew of one for the longest time. They found 4 more. Mercury doesn't have a fucking moon. Venus doesn't have a fucking moon. Yet they're still planets, right? And then you took a probe by it and you saw what Pluto actually looks like. And have you seen Pluto? It's fucking majestic. It is a fucking amazing looking planet that needs to get more study done to it, but is a dwarf planet. No, look, I'm not a big nostalgia guy. I already talked about that in an episode of Conversation with Yourself. Nostalgia has its place, but you cannot make it your whole life. But the fact is, growing up, there were 9 planets, and Pluto was one of them. Pluto should still be a planet. It's still interesting, and the probe itself has shown how much more interesting it is than fucking any of the other planets in our solar system. Why quash beliefs in your children about Santa or the Easter Bunny or the Tooth Fairy? What does that actually do? Brings them to the real world? Fuck the real world. Fantasy is the place to be at. It's fun. And look, I still to this day, I still spout off about Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy. My kids know better. Everybody knows better. But I'm not going to be the person to say, yeah, they don't exist. No, that's not going to happen. No, I still say Santa does this. I still sign presents that we wrap for our kids from Santa, from Mrs. Claus, from Hermie, from Rudolph, whatever you want to do. I still do that. I do that for my wife also. And look, they're fictional beings, they're fantastic beings, whatever, but they're good stories, and there's no reason to quash belief in them. That's part of the vibes of the holidays, which I would discuss in my pilot I already talked about before. Why do you love when the bad guys win? I talked about that also with the Stranger Things thing. You wanted them to all die and the bad guy to be more powerful. Why the fuck would you want that to happen? Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie because the good guys don't win. What the fuck take is that? Why don't you want the good guys to win? I don't get it. I don't understand. Are bad guys more interesting? Probably. But they're bad guys. What they do is not good. Are there some shades of gray characters? Sure. But they're still bad guys. And why do you make them win? Why do you want them to win? Is it because we're living in a time frame where the bad guys win all the time? Because they do. You should be fucking against that bullshit. Doesn't help you any. Because you're not bad guy. You're bad guy adjacent for people who believe in that shit. You're not a bad guy. You're just a little toady who he doesn't give a fuck about. So fuck right off. Radio edits. Why do you need to edit stuff for the radio? Again, I understand it's a hypothetical. I understand commercials. You don't want people to get bored with a song, but these artists put a lot into their music and they had it done a specific way. It was released on the albums this way. Good example is the radio station I listen to, they play 80s, 90s, 70s, some early aughts, you know. And the biggest one is Thriller. When they play Thriller, one of the best parts of the Thriller song is the Vincent Price rap and his laugh at the end. This version on this radio station cuts his rap and plays the music underneath. So it's not cutting it for time. It's just playing the music underneath. It's just a long period of music with Michael Jackson going, ooh, ah. Why the fuck did you need that when you could just have Vincent Price with his awesome voice doing the rap that Michael Jackson wanted a part of his Thriller song? And then that laugh at the end just puts the bam on the exclamation point on the song, and you edit it off as well. Again, I understand commercials. You need to fill space, but November Rain's another one. November Rain's a fucking 11-minute song. Yes, I know you don't want to run that whole 11-minute version of it, so you got to edit it down. But they went to a lot of effort to make that cut to be that length for a specific reason. Billy Joel's Piano Man's another one. Piano Man's one of these great story songs where it's Billy Joel as a piano man in a bar, which they're saying is a gay bar, but we're not going to talk about that. That might be in conspiracy theory coming up later. And I've heard the full song before, and you can tell there's a cut where he's telling a story about the bartender, and they cut his story for time, whatever. I get it, but I don't understand it. That's it for that one. And my first page is done. So how many have I done so far in an hour? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm only a fifth of the way done. Don't worry, the other ones, this batch right here are all short ones. So we'll double what we're going to do right here now. Pilot, remake this. Remakes are a big thing out there now, but there are movies that are hugely popular, like The Thing, The Fog, Friday the 13th, stuff like that, that are being RoboCop, that are being remade. And there's no reason to remake popular movies. A good example is Escape from New York is being remade by that shitty Zack Snyder. We're not going to talk about that anymore either. You don't need to remake the classics. Have people actually go and find these classics. You don't need to update them with currently hot actors and actresses or with better special effects, whatever. That's part of film history. And the film people who are pro remake, you got to get the fucking life, man. The originals are the best. However, there is not a problem with remakes if you remake bad movies. Movies that had the potential to be really good movies, but turned out to be shitty. If done properly and rewritten or refocused or whatever, those are the ones you should be remaking. And I would do a show where I would talk about some of the ones I have in my head. I've got 4 examples here, which I'm going to give right now. First one's Worth Winning. Now, to me, about 80% of that movie is fantastic. Yes, are there issues with it? Yes, it's a late 1980s film, which is great. Stars Mark Harmon. He does a fourth wall break where he's actually talking to the audience before Deadpool did it. And it's fantastic. He plays a weatherman in Philadelphia. Philly people love that stuff. It was filmed in Philadelphia. Who is, Mark Harmon in the 1980s is a fucking gorgeous, handsome man. And he plays, eternal bachelor, George Clooney before he got married, sort of quality where he was just, hugely handsome. Everybody loves him. He's kind of arrogant when it comes to that. And his best friend is married with children, and he likes hanging out with his best friend. And when his children are with them, Mark Harmon's character absolutely adores being with the children. So his friend is a psychologist, like, dude, you should get married because you're so good with the kids. You love it. You need to settle down. And Art's like, nah, I don't need to fucking do that. I'm single like that. And the psychologist is like, you know what? I'm going to psycho fucking analyze you. I think you are afraid of something. You're afraid to get whatever. I don't know. So we're going to do a little experiment. We're going to do a bet. And that gets Mark Harmon's, we're going to do a bet, huh? It's like, yeah, here's my bet. I'm going to pick 3 women for you. And you have to get engaged to all 3 of them in 3 months. And if you do that, what do you want? I want the Picasso that belongs to your wife, an original. Okay, because I don't think you're going to do it fine. If I win and you can't do it, I want Mark Harmon, this is his friend, I want your cabin. All right, deal. So he picks the women, his psychologist friend picks the women, and Mark Harmon has to go and seduce them and convince them to be, to get engaged to him so he can win his bet. And the psychologist is doing this because he thinks that if he can meet somebody and have to put the effort in to getting a woman, that it might draw his attention to maybe wanting to settle down. So the 3 women he picks a virginal cheerleader who's gorgeous for the Philadelphia Eagles, but is followed around by big, bulky defensive linemen, one of whom which is in love with her, but she's so naive about it, she doesn't realize it. And so he tries to approach her, and they are like her bodyguards, but eventually he is able to break through. And then when he's getting ready, and he's like, this is great. She's a hot chick. This is going to be perfect. And he's getting ready to get down and dirty with her, the 2 of them. And she reveals to him that she's a virgin. And boom, it freaks him out. It's like, oh, fuck no. I thought you, because of the way you look and you were a cheerleader, I thought you'd been sleeping around. I ain't going to take any woman's virginity for a fucking joke, because he has morals. Not great ones, but he does have some morals. Like, I ain't gonna do that. So he ends up creating that his character has impotence, but then eventually he's able to succeed with that. I don't want to spoil it. So he does that. The second one, and this is diabolical by his friend, is a married woman whose husband and child ignore her and are terrible, and she's gorgeous, but under a mousy sort of thing. She's the woman who played Miss Scarlet in Clue, Leslie Ann Warren. Here she's not as stunningly, she's made up to be not as stunning as she was as Miss Scarlet, because she's a fucking stunning woman. But they made her sort of mousy with weird hair and just the attitude and just, sort of bets like that. And so when a handsome man starts seducing her because she's not being fulfilled, she unleashes her inner sex lover and just absolutely is just thirsty for him, and they have sex everywhere and stuff like that. That's all she cares about. That's the second one. The third one is the psychologist's wife's best friend, who is a feminist who absolutely despises Mark Harmon's character. They've hung out a little bit, and they went on a date once, I think, and she absolutely hated him. And so he's like, there's your third one. It's a great story seeing him. No, he does have these morals, and he has to try to figure out how to win this bet. And he does learn a few things about him, but the last half of the movie just absolutely falls apart for me. I think if you can keep what you had for the first part and maybe rejigger the ending a little bit, you might have a better way of making this movie work out. It's fantastic. It's a great movie. The ending sort of makes it a little rough for me, and a lot of people don't know this movie, and you can always turn around. Like, you could always flip it and see what happens with a woman doing it to a man, sort of thing. So we'll see. Here's another one that's amazing. When the trailers for these came out, it looked phenomenal. It was just put Robin Williams in a field and let him just go. And it's a gorgeous field. He's in a great, like, Willy Wonka-esque costume. And it's for a movie called Toys, directed by Barry Levinson, who's a local Marylander guy. And this came out in the 90s. And the trailers and stuff like that made it look like it was a whimsical Charlie and the Chocolate Factory sort of film, but with toys. And Robin Williams is, Willy Wonka, but he leads this toy thing. The story itself is, a massively popular toy maker. His son is a man-child, is just does and has no ambition, nothing in his life about stuff like that. His sister is a robot played by Joan Cusack that his father created for him to have a sibling. Then the father dies, but instead of giving the toy factory to his son, who's a lackadaisical man-child who would probably destroy it, he hands it off to his military brother, Robin Williams' uncle, played by Michael Gambon, who played Dumbledore later on in the Harry Potter stuff. He has a son played by LL Cool J, who's a military guy. And this military guy comes in and comes up with the idea to turn toys into war items, stuff you can use for war. Before drones were invented, he was coming up with toys that were drones for the most part. It's an anti-war fable, and Robin Williams' character has to grow up now, which is the reason why his dad put it in his uncle's hand, knowing his uncle was going to do something stupid with the toy company like that. He's forcing Robin Williams to grow up to try to make this happen. You put that down there, that's fantastic. But then you introduce Robin Wright's character, who's fine. She's fine. But she becomes a love interest for Robin Williams, and that just doesn't click for me. And that's the bit I would probably change up a little bit on that. And there's some other stuff in there that I would probably mix around, but it does have sort of that Willy Wonka-esque quality. I would dip more into that than what it ended up being. But yes, it was one of Barry Levinson's first scripts they wrote. It's an anti-war thing. And the story, we get the story, but it just needed a little bit of rejiggering here and there. I think you could do a really good thing. Now, unfortunately, we don't really have anybody who could do it justice like Robin would have. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was a throwaway that they tried to do with Sean Connery, stuff like that, based on the British thing, but they changed it too much around and add some American stuff like that. The actual comic itself is very British, and it is very literary and has so many literary things involved with it that, people who have doctorates in literary stuff, they read this stuff with a passion, because Alan Moore just absolutely throws all kinds of obscure bullshit in there. But in the presence, it's a bunch of classical British characters working together to take on bad guys. And I think they need to redo a new version of that, because I think if you can do it right, properly, I think that'd be good. And then Barbarella, we know that Edgar Wright and Sydney Sweeney are talking about doing a remake of this. Barbarella is Jane Fonda's sex sci-fi movie. I think it'd be kind of cool to do a similar sort of sex sci-fi comedy with Sydney Sweeney in the lead role, and I think that'd be kind of interesting to see that. Pilot, it's overrated. It would talk about stuff that's overrated, why I believe it's overrated, because I'm running out of time. I'm going to try to just blow through this stuff. I believe the Avatar series that James Cameron did is absolutely overrated, and still boggles my mind that all three of these movies have made billions of dollars, and the first two are still in the top three highest grossing pictures of all time. It absolutely boggles my mind, because the first one I saw, I wanted to tear my my ears out because it's visually stunning, but the script is terrible. And I have no desire to see any of the other ones. So, and I've heard just as many bad things about it as well. Pulp Fiction is hugely overrated. I've gone on a spiel about this before. I'm not going to reiterate it here, but if you pick this show, I will go into more detail about why I think Pulp Fiction is overrated. It absolutely is. There's no redeeming characters in any of the main characters. The storyline is just meh at most, and the only reason why it's as popular as it is because it's told out of fucking order. Stanley Kubrick is one of the most overrated directors of all time. And yes, the film geeks are going to come after me about that. 2001 is a boring ass film and visually stunning, yes, but why do you need an 8-minute sequence of a spaceship floating to the moon to a orchestral song? It's a great orchestra song, but why are we watching this slow motion thing just moving towards the moon? It does nothing. The storyline itself is interesting, and when they made the sequel 2010, it made it better. And there's two more sequels that Arthur C. Clarke or whoever wrote the original one wrote, which are just as good and could be made into movies now, but that's boring. The Shining is a absolutely overrated fucking movie. It's a terrible adaptation of Stephen King's book. It's not exactly what he wanted. And it's just, there's a lot to Stanley Kubrick. I just think he's way overrated, and I would go off on that as well. Scorsese films, pretty much, as I said, as mentioned before, I like Scorsese as a film historian. He's a decent filmmaker, but he does the same goddamn movie over and over again. They're all historical epics that are overly violent. They're all mafia or organized crime related. And yet he still does some unique films. Last Temptation of Christ is fantastic. After Hours is outstanding. I haven't seen the Hugo, which is a family film, which I heard is really good about it. He did one called Kundun, which is about Buddhism, which is I've heard is really, really good also. But the majority of his movies are all overly violent, about unlikable characters, and they're all pretty much the same, and everyone loves them. He needs to dip back into some of that stuff now. Plus, he works with the same which is I shouldn't say that's not a problem but when you have movies and you keep working with the same actors over again, sometimes it's a little bit off about that. The Wolf of Wall Street is absolutely a hugely overrated movie. I hated that movie with every fiber of my being. The only thing that made it great was the sexy Margot Robbie, and there are some funny bits in it, but the majority of it is just, it's a shitty movie, in my opinion. Now he's making a ghost horror film with Jennifer Lawrence and Leonardo DiCaprio, which could be interesting to look at, but then he's turning around and doing a Hawaiian mafia story with Leonardo DiCaprio, Emily Blunt, and The Rock, which is a different take on the mafia stuff, but again, it's going to be overly violent, overly curse word related, stuff like that. He needs to do some more stuff. He has another Jesus movie in him. I would love to see him tackle that. He has a Frank Sinatra movie in him, which I think, will have mafia connections to it, but I think that would be brilliant also. But he wants Leonardo DiCaprio for that role also. It's like, I don't know about that. I don't think he could do Frank Sinatra. I think you need to get somebody else and try to work with somebody else without your usual stuff like that. He made an adaptation of Killers of the Flower Moon, which I absolutely loved the book. Haven't been able to see it because Apple TV is refusing to release it on DVD, even though you all said, oh, Netflix is the only one who does that. No, Killers of the Flower Moon came out in movie theaters for 1 week, and then you have to go to Apple TV to watch it. And I talked about that as well. That'd be another of my pet peeves. We're not going to talk about that right now. And Summer is hugely overrated. I hate Summer. I used to love Summer when I was younger, obviously, because I had more freedom. I was a kid. I could do more fun things, and I didn't have the responsibilities I have now, and I'm not overweight, which I am now. But the heat and humidity in our area, and I think it's getting worse because of climate change, is absolutely disastrous. And that's what's causing it. But everybody's like, oh, summer's so great. No, it really isn't. It's hot, disgusting, humid, and air conditioning doesn't really work fully unless you have multiple air conditioning units and you have a lot of money. I talked about that as well in a further episode before. And finally, Avengers Endgame. I love me the MCU. I love me Avengers stuff, but Endgame is hugely overrated. I one of my least favorite movies. It has great sequences, but there are other bits in it that make me just cringe like that. So it's overrated. Pilot, where I was wrong. Things I was wrong on, I would go into more detail, but again, I'm running out of time. I got a lot more to tackle, so I'm just going to hit these real quick. I was wrong about artist Bill Sienkiewicz. When I first saw his stuff, I thought his overly artistic quality, which looked more like abstract paintings, was not proper for a comic book. But as I've gotten older and I started re-looking at the stuff and looking at his other stuff, it is absolutely stunningly gorgeous and actually works very, very well. I used to not be a fan of painters themselves, like a John J. Muth or anything like that, doing these types of things. But going back now older and take a look at it, it's absolutely stunningly gorgeous. And I was wrong about that. I was wrong about Taylor Swift. I was never a anti-Taylor Swift person. I did not hate on her going to football games, being shown all the time. That was done by the NFL because she was the most popular person at the time, dating one of the most popular football players of all time. Her Eras Tour was a huge hit and was still ongoing at the time. It was big ratings for her. It brought more children, more women and girls to watch football, and they've become longtime fans now. I had no problem with her showing up about that. And then I started hearing some of her music and hearing about the stuff she's had to go through, hearing about the Eras Tour and her relationship with Travis Kelce, and I became a Swiftie. I'm a huge fan of Taylor Swift. I will protect her with my life because of all the stuff I've heard about her. She is a good, decent person, one of the best out there, but people just have hatred-colored eyes for her. They don't understand her. They think she writes and sings the same songs. She doesn't. She's changed genres so many times, it's not funny. She is someone who pays her dancers and her people who move her sets, build her sets, pays them very, very well. She pays her taxes. She's kind to people and animals. She's not a bitch. She can be bitchy when it comes to people who are dissing on her. She doesn't try to draw attention to herself. Every stop she took at the Eras Tour, she dropped a shit ton of money on food banks, but somebody leaked that, so now everybody knows about that. Everybody does that. Keanu Reeves does that all the time. They don't want to do it like that. So I was wrong about Taylor. I like her music. I think she's one of the genuine cool people, and she's a damn good songwriter. Got inducted into the Songwriter Hall of Fame, and a bunch of people who you thought were the best songwriters of all time all said it's about fucking time she got in there. I was wrong about how The Grinch Stole Christmas, the live action version of it. When I first saw that, I had the visceral reaction that all of you out there had as well. You hated on it because it wasn't the cartoon you grew up with. That's where nostalgia came in place. It added unnecessary storylines to a simple Grinch story, and Jim Carrey absolutely hammed it up. So I felt the same way when I first saw it also, but then I rewatched it about a year later, and I actually realized this is fucking genius. It is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. It is gorgeously shot, perfect set design, wonderful music, and I like it. I love the movie. There are bits and pieces that I'm still not big fans of, but they're just very small and in between. And once they shuffle on, they move that. It's very funny. There's lots of funny stuff, and the storyline makes him a bit more of a likable character, and it's great. It's fantastic. I watch it every Christmas. I highly recommend you rewatch it if you haven't yet. Avocados and guacamole. I used to hate that stuff. My wife convinced me to try them, and now I love that stuff. Fantasy football and fantasy baseball. I always thought when I was first introduced it back in the early aughts that I was better than them who liked the fantasy stuff because I actually played softball and baseball, and why do I need to do fantasy stuff? But then I got sucked into the fantasy world, and I actually like fantasy. Now, I don't like fantasy baseball as much anymore than I did when I first started doing it. Fantasy football, I still play it every year, and I still love it. Even played fantasy hockey one year. Don't know anything about hockey. I had a lot of fun doing that as well. Pilot, the most perfect movie. Again, this would be a talk about movies that I think were absolutely perfect. Again, I'm just going to give you a couple examples and brief things that I'll talk about. And if we pick this pilot, I would do it in more detail. Back to the Future is one of the most perfect movies out there. Everything hits perfectly from the casting to the storyline, where little bits and pieces that appear at the beginning of the film pay off at the end of the film. It's a pretty decent linear story. You can try to come up with issues, stuff like that. But Bob Zemeckis and Bob Gale, who wrote the screenplay, it's a tightly written movie, and 2 and 3 spawned the 2 and 3, which are just as tightly written as them. And it's fantastic and it's great. Men in Black is a breezy 95-minute long movie, which you get the story exactly. You get the story told. You introduce the characters. The story gets told. You understand the situation. They go through a training montage. The new trainee goes and experiences first stuff. They take on the big bad guy. They beat him. End of movie. It goes boom, 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 boom. It's funny. It's awesome. It's exciting. It's a great film. Jurassic Park, probably one of Steven Spielberg's greatest movies he ever made. Still to this day is a perfect movie. And the storyline adapted from the Michael Crichton novel, changes the characters slightly from the book, which is not as good as the movie, which is something you really can't say all that much. The book is not as good as the movie. The movie is much better. I like the character choices. The one story that came out this week that Spielberg wanted Harrison Ford to play the Alan Grant character, I don't see it. I would just see Harrison Ford. I liked having Sam Neill play him. I thought he did a great job. It's another tight boom, 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 boom film. Great visual effects, particularly at that time, 1993. Seeing those dinosaurs was a monstrous explosion. What is going on sort of thing. Ghostbusters 1984, another absolutely perfect film, perfectly combining comedy and horror a little bit with technical jargon. Great performances, hilarious, good supporting cast, good all-around cast, whatever. Great storyline, really interesting, funny, great. Misery, believe it or not, is probably the best Stephen King adaptation out there. And it's a two-person play. And they cast them perfectly. Kathy Bates and James Caan play off each other perfectly. The movie goes exactly as it should. It gives you a lot of dread and a lot of fear as it should. And it's fantastic. And also from Rob Reiner, who directed Misery, Princess Bride is also an almost perfect movie as well, based on the novel that the screenwriter for Princess Bride adapted from his own story. So fantastic. Those are perfect movies. All right, this is the moment my friend Mr. Gary was waiting for, but I don't think he's watching. But he'll catch it eventually. So it's about the hour and a half mark. I'll tell him that. My friend Mr. Gary is a huge music fan. And this one's for you. Pilot, that song is about what? Listening to radio while I'm working, you start listening to songs you hear over and over again, and you start dissecting the lyrics, and you start realizing, what's this song about? All right. So here is I would do an episode where I break down some songs and talk about in depth what people believe it is about and what it actually is about. If you think about it, some of it's my own interpretation of it. You'll find out in one of the songs here, which I could be wrong about, but I'm just going to do it real quick. Boom, 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 boom. On this, break down the lyrics, the misunderstood storyline. I also like to make the joke that all songs are about sex. You can actually make every song that has ever been made about sex in some form or another, but that's not part of this story. This is more along the lines. This is about what? The one I always talk about is the Pina Colada song. Do you like pina coladas and walking in the rain, blah, blah. You know that song. If you actually listen to the lyrics, it's about a couple that was together for a long time, and the man is getting bored with his girlfriend who he's been with for a long time. So he reads the paper, reads a personal ad who says, do you like pina coladas, walking in the rain, having sex in the dunes? If so, why don't you come talk to me and we can get together? So like, ooh, this is exciting. Someone that I can cheat on my girlfriend with. So he responds to her and says, let's meet at this bar. So sure enough, he goes to the bar, and then it's his girlfriend who is the one who wrote that. So they both were trying to cheat on each other. And the one thing that always gets me crazy is that he says in the lyric of the song, I never knew you liked all this shit. You've been together for so long. You made a point in the song that you've been together for so long, and you don't know that she likes this shit? What are you, a moron? I'll go into more detail about that if I do this show. Jesse's Girl is another one from Rick Springfield. You know the story. It's Rick Springfield was a handsome man in the 80s, and a huge, he was on TV and he was on the soap operas and good singer, stuff like that. It's a great pop song. But if you listen to the lyrics, it's basically about him being, I'm this gorgeous man, and me and my best friend have been hanging out, but we haven't been hanging out as much anymore because he has a new girlfriend. And I want to make his girlfriend my girlfriend because I think she's hot and I think I would be a better fit for her. So he's trying to seduce his boyfriend's, not his boyfriend, his best friend's girlfriend away from him. Not lying. Listen to the music. Like a Prayer, that's an easy one from Madonna. You all know what that's about. Like a Prayer is a song about a blowjob. Yes, it is. I know you don't like hearing about that, but it is. It's just the way it is. Sorry. It is. If you listen to the lyrics, you'll get it also. She Bop and Turning Japanese, 2 songs from the 80s, are also about masturbation. She Bop from Cyndi Lauper is about female masturbation. Turning Japanese from the Vapors is about a male masturbation, which is kind of a racist thing. The whole thing is that when you are jerking and you get ready to come, you have this look that makes you look like the cliche Japanese sort of thing. The One I Love from REM, my band, everybody misconstrues that song as a love song. It is not. It's a song about someone trying to control his girlfriend or partner or whatever. And then when he is done with her, he casts her aside. That's what it's about. Every Breath You Take, everyone knows about that as well from the Police. It's about stalking. It's not a love song. It's about someone who is stalking someone else. Baby It's Cold Outside. That's been a lot of talk about that, but some of the lines about that believe that he put a roofie in her drink and is going to rape her. But people also saying that, at the time, what the song is actually about is she wants to stay. He wants her to stay, but they're afraid of what it's going to look like. It's up to interpretation. That would be something I would discuss in this show as well. Little Red Corvette's the one that I have issues with. I thought I've heard somewhere that it's about Prince's penis. But I also have heard from particularly Mr. Gary and some other people that it actually might be about how fast the woman is that he's dating. I have to listen to it again, but again, that'd be something that we could discuss if I decide to do this show again. Here's 2 songs that I'm going to break down a little bit more than the other ones. Misunderstanding from Genesis, the Phil Collins version of it. This is a great song that when you first hear it, you start thinking it's about just a guy that is being dumped by his girlfriend that he's in love with and he's never felt this way about, but she's ghosting him for the most part. But then if you start thinking about it, and I love this song because it's such a great poppy song from I think it's early 90s. So I listen to it a lot. It's on a lot of my playlists. So on work, I listen to it all the time. When you start really dissecting the lyrics in your head, yes, on the surface, it looks like a guy being ghosted by someone he was in love with, and they were dating at one point, but she no longer is interested in him, but has not come out and says, we're broken up. In my eyes, in my interpretation of it, I think he's a stalker also, like in Every Breath You Take, because he says stuff like, he's been trying to call you for a date for the weekend, and you're not answering your phone. So I'm afraid something happened to you. So let me go over to your house and see what's wrong. Maybe you're hurt, maybe whatever, because he's so obsessed that he thinks, why would you be dumping me? And then he says, when I get there, you're leaving the house. But it doesn't say he gets out of the car and goes to approach her, says, hey, I've been trying to call you. What's up? Are you going to meet us for our date? He doesn't say that. He just says, I called you because I wanted to set up a date. You didn't answer, so I went to your house to check on you, and you're walking out of the house. So obviously you were at the house and you ignored my phone call. But why? And to my eyes, if he was really dating her, he would get out of his car and he would send the next lyric. I walked up to you and said, what the hell are you doing, bitch? No, I wouldn't say that, but I say, hey, I tried calling you. What's going on? He also said, I haven't been able to contact you. I haven't been able to see you. So I've gone to the places we've gone before, which means that, in your thought, you might think that's the places they went on dates, stuff like that. But maybe he has been stalking her at like a store or the gym or a restaurant or something like that. And the places where he believes that we've been together at, where he's stalking her. There's some other aspects to it as well, but think about it. Play the song Misunderstanding. listen to the lyrics. Yes, on the surface, it sounds like a guy who's being ghosted, but dig a little deeper and get a little darker, and then you might be able to say, wait a second, is this about Stalker? Finally, Fight for Your Right to Party. Yes, it's an anthem of the 1980s. It's about the high school kids who feel that they don't need to have education, that their life should just be about drinking and partying and listening to music and dancing and looking at porn and doing all this cool stuff. And my parents are the biggest downer, saying, no, you can't do this. You have to go to school. You can't smoke, even though you smoke all the time. And so they're both sort of wrong. Education is hugely important. Look at where we are now in the country. The uneducated are the ones that are ruling the country right now, and we're in a shit show because of them. So education is good. Yes, it's boring. Yes, it's not fun, but you should still go to school, still get educated, still turn in your stuff. And your parents, yeah, you're being kind of dicky with some of your rules, being a little restrictive about things. I understand you might be concerned about them, and maybe the kid is just anticipating it as being restrictive when it really isn't. But then the kid's like, I wish, living with my parents is such a drag. You're 18 years old, 17 years old. Do you really think you'll be able to live in an apartment and do everything on your own? You're going to need to have a job to pay for it. It's not just something you just go to a house and just live there and not pay anything. You got to pay electricity. You got to pay for food. You got to pay for rent. You got to pay for a way to get to locations. What, are you just going to sit on your ass and smoke and drink? So think about that. This isn't really a song is about what, but I could also maybe use this pilot to talk about other songs like Margaritaville. It's pretty straightforward. It's Jimmy Buffett talking about how he's chilling on the beach all summer long, just watching the people going by, and he's just, must be nice to be able just to chill at the beach on your porch, strumming your guitar, just watching people watching, going out, getting drinks and getting food and going to the beach, stuff like that. And then I kind of think about, it's like, I'm not a big beach guy, but you know what? If I didn't have any job or any issue and just sort of want to be on my own, that'd be kind of a cool place to be. So there you go, Mr. Gary, about 10 minutes on that one. We'll see if that comes out there. I'll tell you on Monday when on the show you can listen to it. The best month is a quick one. I'm going to do a real quick pilot where I would break down a month via the vibes, the feeling for it, any holidays, weather, length, stuff like that. We'll talk about June real quick. June's a great month for me because my birthday, it's Father's Day, it's the end of school for my kids. Well, high school kids, they're in college. They're done usually in May. But then the vibe is graduation. So everybody's kids are graduating high school. They're ending school. It's getting warmer for people who like that type of stuff. Great summer movies are out. Baseball is ongoing, stuff like that. You've got, just a good vibe of June. Weather's good. It's 30 days, so it's a good length, stuff like that. That would be sort of like what that one is, the best month. So we'll just break that down a little bit there. This one might take a little bit of time because I'm running out of time. I got a long one here, and we got a bunch of songs. This might be longer than 2 hours. So we're gonna move on here a little bit. I'm gonna try and maybe make it 2.5 hours at the most. So we'll try to blow through some of these. Why they suck. A list of things. This pilot would be about why they suck, and a list of, and I would break it down obviously in this pilot and why things suck. So I'm just give you a list of things I think suck. All Summer Long, the song by Kid Rock, absolutely sucks because he steals 2 songs that are hugely popular. The lyrics are shitty. He talks about having sex with someone who's underage, about drinking beer illegally, taking drugs illegally, and we're amazed when the weather starts to change. You're way too high on stuff. It is a stupid fucking song and absolutely does not deserve to be anywhere. Zack Snyder's a fucking piece of shit director who makes shitty movies. And the biggest thing about him is his Snyder Bros, who absolutely adore him, like the MAGA adore the pedo in charge. They go in and they try to destroy people's careers because everyone should love Zack Snyder like they do. And Zack Snyder has never come out and said anything against his Snyder Bros. Yes, he had a tough time when his daughter committed suicide, but that doesn't ignore the fact that you are ignoring the fact that people are attacking people online and saying absolutely terrible things about them, and also physically threatening people on stuff as well, and destroying people's careers, and absolutely trying to tank stuff that isn't your shit. You need to cut that shit out. If you were a real director and you didn't live for that sort of stuff, you would cut that shit out, and it would probably tell them to shut the fuck up. But you, in fact, have been charged with doing some of this bullshit yourself. So yes, it's horrible that your daughter committed suicide, but that doesn't make you any less of a shitty person. I'll get in more detail about that. Michael Bay is also a shitty person. He's also a shitty director. He's only made 2 decent movies, in my opinion, The Rock and The Island. The rest of his movies are all shitty. Bad Boys is okay, I guess. I've seen them, and I've never really enjoyed them all that much. But his filming style is absolutely terrible. He destroyed the Transformers because he changed them from their colorful characters so you could tell who is who, and made everyone just be a big amalgamation of robots, and you turned it to a CGI orgy where you got these robots fighting each other, but you don't know who's winning. You can never tell who's winning because they all look the goddamn same. Quentin Tarantino, he's a good filmmaker, but he thinks he's better than everybody. He's made comments about other actors saying that they're shitty, which you really shouldn't be saying also. And he's got a big egotistical feel about himself, and he's also kind of a piece of shit. He has made some good movies. We'd break that down more in an episode. Blue jeans. I hate blue jeans. That's just my personal thing. This is why they suck. They're too tight on me. I don't like how they feel. I don't like how they give. Yes, they look good on other people, but I just despise blue jeans. I think they're disgusting, and I would go into more detail about that. Backing into parking spots is another one of my pet peeves. I think it's stupid. People are like, why? What's the problem with it? Well, I'm coming down the street. I kind of want to get home, and you're backing your parking spot, and you block all the roads. So I have to stop what I'm doing, and then you back in, and then I'm trying to get around you, but then you pop back out because you're not in perfectly, and you got to go back in again perfectly. You hold up traffic. It's no reason for it. Yeah, it's a quick escape. I can jump in and just go right out instead of having to back out. I don't like it. I think it's stupid. Godzilla 98, the Roland Emmerich American version of it, is a shitty movie. It turned Godzilla into a joke and made baby Godzillas look like the velociraptors from Jurassic Park. Matthew Broderick does an okay job. Hank Azaria does pretty good. Jean, what's his face, is decent, but the love interest is a terrible character and just one of the worst characters out there. The army people are terrible people. It's just a shitty movie. Internet trolls. I made a comment on Threads a while back. There was like saying, what is the lore of your family? So I told the story that I was told when I was younger about my grandmother getting a castle in Scotland from a far distant relative. She visited it once and she gave it to the caretakers. I've heard that story. That was a story that was told to me when I was younger. Maybe I misconstrued it, whatever, but that's what I was told. And I'm sticking with that. So I wrote that down. I got a lot of likes on it, but then there are people like, why would your grandmother sell a castle? That doesn't really happen. Maybe it does. Maybe she doesn't want to fucking move to a castle and take care of it and spend money on it. Maybe she's happy with her life in America. You ever think of that? Oh, what castle is it? I don't know. I told you this was something when I was younger. I'm just telling you my lore. That was what the thing in Thread says, lore. So you have the internet trolls like, I think he's lying. That never happened. It's fake news. It's blah, 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 whatever. I know what I know. And it's also lore. It's what I was told is entirely true. Lore is not always entirely true. Who knows? I believe it. I will continue to believe it. And just internet trolls in general, when somebody talks about how they like something or they took a picture of themselves, says, I look pretty good in this. They're the trolls that come on and say, you look like shit. You should go kill yourself. Or people, and that comes back to the thing where you're under an AI sort of picture and you're a piece of shit. Summer, that's self-explanatory. I already talked about it. Summer sucks. I already talked about that. We'll talk about that again here. And when Jon Stewart, Rob Reiner, George Clooney, and Jon Favreau attacked Joe Biden during the 2024 presidential race and forced him basically to drop out. I like Kamala. I thought she did a great job, but there was no reason for you to attack Joe Biden. He did nothing wrong. He probably would have won the election, but again, Elon was fixing it anyway. Man, this is going to be a long-ass show. So that was done. I want to spend more time on this one. I might just have to stop and do a second part of this. I think I might actually do that because this is one. This one's going to take me a little bit of time. This one's going to take a little bit of time. How many have I done? Let me see what I've done. Maybe I want to try to get this done in 10. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I got 9 more to do. This one's a long one. That's a long one. That's a long one. And that's ones I don't really need to do. All right, so let's just actually, I have a little bit of time. Let's do this one. This was a pretty big one that I was expecting to talk about. Okay, this is going to get a little spicy here. It's 3:05 p.m. And I got about 10 minutes for the 2-hour mark. It's going to go over 2 hours. But I want to talk about this one, and then I might stop and do 1 or 2 more. We'll see. I might skip some of these ones. So there's not going to be 20 pilots. I'm probably going to shorten it because I've already talked for almost 2 hours. Didn't expect it to be this long, to be honest. So here we go. This one's a big one also. This is Sex Talk with Dylan, past the Cavassier. So we're going to be talking about sex stuff. It's going to be rated M for mature. This is not safe for work, whatever. And we're an hour and 50 minutes in. So probably no one's even watching this. A few people popped up and watched it live, but when they're watching the video, they might not get this far. But we will be talking about sex stuff. So this is a show that I could probably do. It would be a late night. My usual show I do is on Saturdays at 11 p.m. And I could probably do a show around that time again, late night with Dylan Knows sort of thing. But this is Sex Talk with Dylan. The biggest thing I want to talk about is porn movies. Now, look, I'll be the first person that I've watched porn before. And technically, if you want to be true about it, I still watch porn a little bit. But what I want to talk about is how ridiculous porn is when you think about it. Yes, it does its job, which is to get you off on its own. You've got beautiful women. Okay, men, which is an issue with the porn. But it's the in-depth physical look at something that's very intimate. Yes, I've had sex before. As I said, I lost my virginity on Halloween. I have 2 kids. You get the picture. But first and foremost, porn is a male fantasy, yes, and that's everyone knows that's what it is. There are women fantasy porn out there as well, but the majority of porn, if you look at it, is male power, male storylines, because they have storylines, and the storylines are absolutely ridiculous, which is to lead to the sex, the fucking. Yes, we know that. So it shows males trying to exert their power, and so here's where the story, the stories are irrelevant. It's just a way to get to the sex stuff. The biggest story arcs for porn stuff is stepbrothers, stepsisters, stepdads, stepmoms. So basically, not your real family, but your dad has gone through a midlife crisis and is now marrying a 20-year-old hot chick with big tits and a nice ass who's gorgeous. And he has a son who's about her same age, who is attracted to her because it's around the same age and she's a hot piece of ass. And here's where the thing is. So the big story is that the stepson always seems to be hanging out with the stepmom because the dad is always not around, is ignoring her, is always working, busy. So she's all alone. She's like a trad wife where she doesn't have her own fucking job. She stays at home, makes food, cleans the house, stuff like that. And so the son, who looks like he doesn't have a job either, is hanging around there too. So they start chilling out, whatever. And so there are things where, like, one of the biggest ones, there's a ton of these porn movies out there where the stepson and the stepmom have to share a bed at an event, like they're going to a wedding or something like that. But the hotel booked them into a room with one bed and they have to share the bed. And of course, the woman ends up dressing seductively, like with panties and a t-shirt on, and the boy is wearing just like boxers or whatever. And so it's this hot chick stepmom is there, and he starts jerking it a little bit, or he starts rubbing up against her, and then she eases into it and they end up fucking. So you have that one. You have stepbrother and stepsister having sex. They're not related. They're around the same age. The families have merged. They start off, a lot of them are, they start off as they're hating each other. They make fun of each other. And then they start fighting, and then something leads them into having sex. The one I've been seeing most recently is there's a one where a guy sticks his dick in a pumpkin, gets his stepsister to reach in there, like, hey, you want to reach in the pumpkin, see what's in there, and grabs his dick. And she realizes it. The mom punishes them both. And then he's like, I have this erection. You need to help get rid of it. I don't want to. You have to. It's your duty. And then he starts going down on her, and she's like, okay, we'll have sex. And then boom, they have sex. That's a big thing. A theme you're going to see a lot about that as well. Haven't people heard of locks or closing your fucking doors? Because another thing that leads to a lot of these pornography films are watching each other masturbate, be it a stepmom watching her son masturbate, stepsister watching her stepbrother masturbate, stepbrother watching his stepsister masturbate, so forth, whatever like that. And then they either make a comment, they walk in, it's like, oh my God, what are you doing? And then they start chit-chatting about it, and then they end up, here, you want me to really show you how to do it, instead of jerking it off, and then they have sex. Same thing also with showers. You're spying on your stepmom in the shower, or your stepmom is spying on your studly, big-dicked son in the shower as well. And you walk in there, you end up having sex in the shower after seeing each other. Don't you know about closing your fucking doors, knocking or locking them? Don't even knock your door. Sometimes they just walk in. It's like, oh my God, you're masturbating. Why would you just walk in without knocking on a closed door? Ridiculous. Again, it's a male power trip. A lot of times the women are just like, no, I don't want to have sex, where you're forcing myself on me. And then he starts doing stuff to her, and she's like, oh, this is nice. Let's have sex. That annoys me a little bit as well. Another thing also is there's this new term where the stepmom is like, I want you to breed me. So she grabs her stepson, and they engage in sexual activity, and then forces him to come inside her so that she might get pregnant. Or if they don't have that aspect of it, they don't use condoms, and then he pulls out and then shoots his cum on her face, tits, or whatever. From what I've heard, cum actually will sting your eyes if it gets into your eyes, and it degrades somebody but then it makes it be a big deal. Like, everybody loves that. Now, it's true. There are maybe people who like having that stuff happen to it, but when you look at it, it just seems like forcing yourself on issues sort of like that. Anal is another thing I don't quite understand as well. Again, there are people that talk about it all the time, and I understand that gay men, that's the only way they can really have sexual activity, since they don't actually have a other hole they can put in except for their ass. So that's fine on that end. But the women want to have dicks up in their ass, or they end up I've seen one that a woman uses a dildo to anally probe a guy as well. I know there's a term for that. I can't think of it right now. I don't understand. I don't get the anal thing. That's where you take a shit, and it's tighter than a pussy or whatever. That doesn't make any sense to me. Another thing that doesn't make sense for me is women getting stuck in the dryer or under a bed or under a table, and they can't get out. Or when I saw recently, a woman got her hand stuck in a sink, and then the guy comes in to try to help her out, and then thinks it's the perfect opportunity to have sex with her. And she's like, I'm fucking stuck under here. What are you fucking doing? Oh my God, this feels so good. Let's fucking have sex. No, that doesn't work for me either. I think that's ridiculous. And all the time about this is you're cheating on your spouses and partners. There's ones where there's a guy who's all depressed, is like, my girlfriend won't have sex with me, and I'm all depressed. And the stepmom or the stepsister's like, I'll have sex with you. And boom, they're cheating on stuff like, or as I said, the stepmother or the stepson or stepdaughter, they know they're cheating on their spouses or their partners. And it's okay because, hey, we're having sex and it's sexy and all this stuff. I also get people liking to get physical during sex. Again, no issue with it, but sometimes it just used to be a little too much. I mean, like really slapping people really hard on their ass, slapping their tits, choking them. Yes, it can be a thrill and stuff like that, but when you think about it in the end, it really is kind of odd, don't you think? And why do some women call the people they're having sex with daddy? And it's not their dad. That just creeps me out as well. And same thing. I've never seen it as much as saying stuff about mommy, but daddy. Now, most of the women in porn are absolutely stunning goddesses, sexy as fuck, big tits, nice ass, good pussy, stuff like that, nice face, long hair, whatever. But if you look at most of the guys, there are a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys that are big, muscular, six-pack sort of dudes. And then you've got the younger guys, the early 20s, who look like mice, who are ugly ass motherfuckers that just happen to have ginormous cocks. And that's the reason why these gorgeous women are allowing these ugly ass dudes to have sex with them. And then sometimes, they're both attractive looking people. It's just it's a male power trip thing. I mean, there's other ones where police officers have pulled a shoplifter into the back room and says, we're going to have sex with you because this is your punishment for stealing from us. That's another, there's a whole kinds of issues with that. So porn, while yes, it's good for getting off on stuff and stuff like that, and doing that sort of things, it's very problematic. And I can understand why we're going to segue into this. Is watching porn considered cheating? Now, I've heard somebody mention that before. It's like, I don't think that's the case. Look, I'm not cheating on my wife when I'm watching porn because I'm whatever stuff I'm doing, I'm either watching myself or I'm physically doing something to myself. No one is doing it to me except myself. And the person you're watching is usually with somebody else. So it's not, you're more of a voyeur instead of you getting the attention of that. Yes, there are POV porn out there, but I don't think it's cheating because you're not actually physically doing anything. You're getting off on something. Now, if you don't have a sexual relationship anymore with someone, but you need a sexual release, this is the easiest way to do it. So now that would be, as I said, the big thing there. We would talk more in detail about that, but there are some other things I would take a look at. Furries, we talk about a furry thing, situation where people like dressing up like animals and having sex like animals. Okay, cool. We could talk about that. Lingerie, I know it makes women feel sexy, but are there people out there who actually like having sex with women in lingerie? I'm sure there probably is. So we discuss that sort of thing as well. Spicy cubes, which is a kind of new thing now. It's almost like an aphrodisiac, almost, where you put in. It's supposed to influence your spiritual thing. I've been seeing that a lot on these stuff like that. Threesomes and gangbangs. I guess I understand it. If you want to have more than one partner at the same time, that can get problematic as well and become an issue too. Still don't quite understand that. I'm not going to do that because like that. Which leads me to my final big thing I would talk a lot about is the OnlyFans sort of way of life now. People who do these reels and stuff like that, talking about wanting to do blowjobs and having sex all the time and making comments about having sex and doing sexual stuff like that. And they're usually by themselves and they're usually sort of intimating, hey, I want to do this stuff with you. Do you though? Are you just saying this stuff because it gets you views and that's your whole point of everything is because you want to get views? Is it true? Maybe it's something that they like to do. Maybe it is. I'm not one to judge. I'm not one to say. I don't know. But is it really something that you do? And then there's one out there who has a bunch of different things, different videos and different Twitter accounts, stuff like that, where she's doing more stuff like saying, like trying to convince you, hey, I want you to do this and do this. And then she's been doing all these most recent videos with this other dude now. So is this your husband, your boyfriend? Is it just an actor who's helping you out with this? And you're doing sexual stuff? Is it just to titillate people? You're no longer trying to get people to think that they can do something with you because you're with the other person. Are you actually down to fuck? Do you actually do all this stuff, or are you just saying it to get views? So that would be my sex talk for that. So we'll do that as well. This one I'll definitely have to do another time because it would take a long time to do that. Guilty pleasures, real quick. I'll do this one real quick. I would do a discussion on guilty pleasures. my guilty pleasures, rom-coms, the Devil Wears Prada movies, The Mannequin, Weekend at Bernie's, Practical Magic, ABBA, Chick-fil-A. I would talk about all these things, why they're guilty pleasures, why I think they're guilty pleasures. I'll talk about this, and then I'll go into more detail about it later. Pilot greatest performances, where I take a performance from somebody and talk about how great it is. I've been doing this one a while bit too. When I first started doing, I started doing some stuff here. Again, my mind isn't working right now. I did something about this. Like Sam Rockwell and Jojo Rabbit is a phenomenal character. Captain K is one of the best characters in film history. I would talk more in depth about that. Shelley Duvall and Popeye absolutely steals that movie as Olive Oyl. Raul Julia as Gomez in the Addams Family movies 1 and 2 is absolutely so spot on perfect that Angelica Houston said, "I'm never doing another Addams Family movie without my Gomez." Antonio Banderas looks like he's having the time of his life during the Spy Kids movie, which is absolutely phenomenal. Bill Paxton in Weird Science as Chet is just one of the best comedy performances you've ever seen. Johnny Depp in Sleepy Hollow playing Ichabod Crane is playing one of the most unique individual detectives out there, and a great film I watch every Halloween. Stanley Tucci can do no wrong. Devil Wears Prada, Easy A, Hunger Games. His characters are absolutely lights out. Kevin Kline and Dave doing double duty as Dave and the President of the United States. Diane Keaton in Baby Boom shows a 1980s businesswoman, how she melts into a loving family woman is fantastic. Ethan Hawke in Before Sunset, the sequel to Before Sunrise, his Jesse character, who was way more obnoxious in Before Sunrise, 10 years later has actually been knocked down a peg and is absolutely a more rounded out character in this. So I would go into more detail about that. John Goodman in Matinee as Lawrence Wolsey, the director, is as a fucking phenomenal role. John Travolta going crazy as the bad guy in Broken Arrow and then being cool and Get Shorty is good. Daniel Radcliffe, everybody knows him as Harry Potter, but watch him as Weird Al in the Al Yankovic story. He's fantastic in that movie. Ewan McGregor and Tim Burton's other film that I love, Big Fish, as Edward Bloom, playing a guy who is very big storyteller, but is also has a very good thing of looking at people and is a good person. The first duo, Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield, and We Live in Time, a film that is grossly underrated, should be talked about and seen more often. Scarlett Johansson also has a phenomenal role in Jojo Rabbit. Peter McNichol as the Biscuit and Ally McBeal is a phenomenal masterclass in creating a character. Tim Curry in Clue, his Wadsworth is one of the most frenetic characters of all time. And Matthew Lillard and She's All That is also a really good frenetic character in Brock Hudson. That one is one I might do more in depth because I'd like to talk about those a little bit more in depth. Another one I like to do is called Conspiracy/Theory, where I talk about conspiracies and theories out there. In this case, Glinda, the Good Witch, wants total war and total control of the Oz. I would talk to you about why I believe that theory. We don't die. We jump reality. So when you actually physically die, you actually do not die. Your soul jumps into the next dimension, which is exactly the same as yours with one or two little minor differences. So instead of you being in a car accident, you escape the car accident. In the previous timeline, you died in that car accident, and that timeline continues without you in it. And then you've jumped to the next one where everything is the same except you survived that car wreck and you're moving on. That's my opinion. We can go into more detail about that. This is another one I'll probably do more often as well. The Scooby Gang is ducking the draft. This Scooby-Doo cartoon came out before Vietnam, and they're driving around in a VW van, solving crimes, have no place to live, living out of the van. They probably make money from solving these cases, but they're trying to avoid the drafts because they don't have a place to live so they can keep surviving. Why my Baltimore Ravens are hated by the NFL. I have a lot of proof about that. And the new theory is Signs, the movie I talked about earlier. Is it really about demons and not aliens? We can talk about that as well. The Most Perfect TV Series is another pilot that I'm working on. Also, it'd be great where I break down an entire series of a TV show, a season, and talk about how great it is. Northern Exposure season 3 is probably the best season in television history, followed by Millennium season 2, Heroes season 1, Twin Peaks season 1, Buffy season 3, Angel season 5, and Lost season 1. I would break them down entirely, talk about what makes them great and perfect, so we could talk about that as well. The Life of Dylan would be a breakdown on my entire life, stuff that I like. I think apple is better than pumpkin during the fall. I love the fall. I hate onions and peppers. I drive angry. I have stories about film directors doing extra work on the TV show Homicide. I'm a comic book fan. I met Mark Hamill before, saw him in his underwear, which is a long story. I love REM. I was a bagel baker. I played badminton in high school. I got my letter in athletics for that. I'm a theater person, so I can talk about that. So the Life of Dylan would be all about my life. I was going to break this one down, but I'm not going to. This is one I'm probably going to do also. I have a In Defense of spinoff called In Defense of the MCU, where I break down every movie in the MCU and also particularly all the stuff that happened after Endgame, because everybody bitches and complains about Endgame post or the MCU post Endgame. Again, talking about box office not being as big as other ones, no discernible characters, but there's a lot of toxic fan base in there. They would complain that there's no big bad in season in the MCU after Endgame that they can jump on like they did in Thanos. And then when they introduce one in Kang, this is not what we wanted. We wanted regular character-driven stories. Well, which is it? Why are you going after the Marvels? Brie Larson. Why do you have the hate for Brie Larson? Why did you hate She-Hulk in defense of that? Why are there no more Moon Knight, Shang-Chi, Werewolf by Night? You all love those. Why aren't there any more? Well, there's reasons for that. There's the strikes. There's a lot of stuff going on and behind the scenes stuff. There's just way too much to talk about here. Why is everybody so mean to Ant-Man? Why do they hate all that? This would be one that would be another one I would probably do, but this would be one that I have to break down a little bit more quickly on that. And my final two, so I'm actually going to get these 20 done out real quick. Dylan spoils everything. I'm not going to do that here, but I would shout out spoilers that you already know, like Darth Vader is Luke's father, or Kevin Costner is the spy in No Way Out, stuff like that. I'm not going to go do any other ones. Oh, Bruce Willis is dead in The Sixth Sense. So I would do something like that. That one is just one that was more of a joke I would want to do. And the last one is you ship them, where people ship fictional characters with each other in books and movies that did not get together, or actors and actresses who were not actually together, shipping them to be together. A few of them real quick, since I have some time, I was able to break down all these. Malfoy and Hermione in the Harry Potter series. Everyone likes those two because Tom Felton and Emma Watson are actually really close friends in real life, and they also ship them in real life as well, though they are not together. But the character of Malfoy would absolutely not go after Emma Watson. He is an absolutely sleazebucket piece of shit, and she would never fall for that bullshit. Harry and Hermione is one that everybody claims about also. No, that's more of a brother-sister relationship. If you actually read the books, it was more of a brother-sister relationship. Her and Ron are fine. Again, the movies did a disservice to a lot of that shit, but Harry and Hermione should not be romantically involved. They should be more of a brotherly, sisterly thing, because they're the ones that have the most in common. And instead of it being a romantic thing, it would be more of a sibling thing, how we survive sort of thing. Buffy and Spike, I know everybody loves them more than Buffy and Angel. I absolutely despise the Buffy and Spike relationship, particularly this episode where Spike sexually abuses Buffy against her will, and the fact that they just had sex all through that terrible season 6. And then he became the great golden light by getting his own soul back and blah, blah, blah in season 7. Bunch of bullshit. I hate them together. Chris and Maggie from Northern Exposure, they ended up together at the end of the pretty rough 6th season of Northern Exposure. The two of them should never have gotten together. romantically. I think they're more of a friend relationship, and I don't think that she really should have got together with Joel either. There's somebody out there for Maggie. There's somebody out there for Chris. There's somebody out there for Joel, but not all of them together. Natasha and Steve, I think, is actually a decent ship. I wouldn't mind seeing them together. I thought they played off each other, but that was a lot of Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson having a long-term friendship that has spelled out onto the scene as well. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Why does everybody want Will and Mike on Stranger Things to get together? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. There's something about Will being gay and it being a gay relationship. I know nothing about that, but Mike is absolutely not the right person for Will, even though they're best friends. He is just completely in love with Eleven, and it was just a, he was someone that he was pining for. But then in this 5th season that everybody seems to hate, he's able to set himself right and figured it out. And that's why I think that would be better, that Will find someone away from his friend group and Mike does what he does. In real life, everyone wants Chris Maloney and Mariska Hargitay to get together. Their chemistry on Law and Order is palpable. And also everybody wants Katie Holmes and Joshua Jackson to get together. They got together in Dawson's Creek, and their characters did, but in real life, they've been directing each other. Everybody's like, oh, look how cute they are. They should get together. All right. Did it a little bit quicker than I wanted to. Didn't quite go as I expected to, but I did it. All 20 of my pilot ideas are done. I already know there's a bunch that I'm going to revisit. I'm going to keep this paper on hand. So tell me, it's your turn now. Tell me which ones you think I should do in the comment section. And in the end, probably I'm just going to end up doing these on my own, probably do my own little mini episodes of things, particularly in defense of MCU. That's going to take a lot of time, though. But I will eventually do that. And I might do this again next year and do a little bit more in-depth stuff like that. 20 was a lot, but I wasn't sure exactly how long this was going to go. So I did it. It's 3:30 p.m. on June 14th. I have now set up properly that on my birthday, June 20th, upcoming Saturday, my next episode of Dylan Knows will be episode 666. And I'm glad I did this show. One of my favorites. And as I said, I probably went a little fast at the end, but I need to get back to real life. My wife is finally getting back from her camp. I got stuff I need to do upstairs. I'm getting hungry. And my son wants to play his video game down here. So I'm out of here. Go ahead and vote which you think is great. Watch the whole episode. And as I said, I'll probably be doing all of these through the year. Whenever I need an extra episode, I might drop one of these in there as well. It all depends on stuff. Thanks for watching. Have a great week. It is my birthday week. Come in, and if you like this episode, watch how I do my regular show. Saturday, 11 o'clock. It's when I usually do my show. Next one will be on June 20th, my birthday, and it's going to be covering everything that happens pop culture-y this week. Thanks, and thanks for watching, and vote.